The Newton County Rams are primed and ready for battle. Join WGFS AM 1430 for live coverage of all 10 Newton County Ram football games this season. Newton County had a 5-4-1 record in 1992, and 93 promises to be even more exciting under second-year head coach Jack Cook. The Rams kick off their 1993 campaign against the Heritage Patriots this Friday night at 7:30 at Reed Stadium in Conyers. Exciting Rams football action on WGFS AM 1430 is made possible by these fine sponsors: Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Covington Cable TV, City Pharmacy, Mayfield Ace Hardware, Patrick's, East Metro Cellular, Cotton States representing American Insurance Agency, Ludy's Sports Shop, the City of Covington Electric System, Rhodes Printing, and Bulldog Tire. Again, it's the Rams and the Heritage Patriots live action from Conyers Friday night at 7:30 here on your sports leader, WGFS AM 1430. We are back on the Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here with you. Hope you're enjoying your Tailgate Show for this Friday evening, and I am here with Newton County Ram football head coach Jack Cook. And Coach Cook, in your second year here in Newton County, and as a local newspaper said this year, the numbers are up and the hopes are up as well. And it's fitting for this year because we do have a lot more folks here working with us in the football team. Are you impressed with the increase in numbers this year?
Oh yeah, we're very thankful for the increase and the interest that the kids have shown. We've had a lot of kids work very hard, and we hope we can continue to get more kids interested in football as time goes on.
And just how important are these numbers, the increased numbers, late in the game when you may need some of those backup players?
Well, it's important for us to try to two-platoon football and play offensive team and defensive team because that's what we face every week. And then they've got depth on both sides of the ball. Most people that we play are going to play 35, 36 young people every game in a starting and backup role, and we need to try to do the same thing if we're going to compete, and that's why it's very important. And in another area that's important in preparation and having the kids learning our system and then still giving us a look against what the other people do.
Well, those numbers will certainly help out here in 1993. And I wanted to ask you, who has made the most progress since last spring for the folks who may have been listening in 1992? Who are the key players who were not around in 92 who will be looking for in 93?
Well, we have 3 seniors or 4 that did not play last year that are back out. A couple of them are back out, and a couple of them are playing for the first time. We've got Reggie Benton. Reggie has played basketball here at school for a couple of years but hasn't chosen to play football. And Reggie will be a senior that's a big, strong guy in the middle of our defense that we look for big things out of him. Tommy Grimes is another kid that came out for the first time. Tommy will be playing some tight end, and so will Bryant Gaither, a youngster that's playing for the first time since, I think, the 9th grade. So we have some new guys there that we look for help from. Charlie Cook. Charlie's back out after taking a year off last year, and he's an offensive lineman. So we've got those 3 or 4 seniors that we're looking for big things from and help in depth from. And some of them, of course, they're going to be raw and young as far as being football players, but they've shown good leadership and they're working hard and they're capable of being good football players.
Well, without further ado, Coach, let's go position by position and introduce the folks out there to the 1993 version of the football Rams. We'll start, of course, with the center of the offense, which is the quarterback. You've got pretty much a new person there, Mike Sellers. He ran some plays last year. Of course, Ahmad Brodnick's the center of that wishbone offense. And, of course, your quarterback has got to be your offensive leader, or most of the time is on the field. And Sellers has had some experience, but is he ready to assume that leadership role? And if so, what do you think is his greatest strength out there on the field?
Well, we feel like Mike's ready to assume it. We think that he's, first of all, he's a gifted athlete, and that makes him, special in our offense because he'll have his hands on the football every play. We think Mike's strength is in running the football, but he has improved his throwing, and he's a capable passer. But he reads the defenses pretty well, and he's an exceptional athlete and can run the football and hopefully dish it off to the right people at the right time. But we have a lot of confidence in Mike and feel like he's a gifted enough athlete, intelligence-wise and athletic ability-wise, to run the type of offense we're trying to run.
And, of course, behind the quarterback is the backfield, and I wanted you to rate the folks who are going to be playing for you in the backfield on 3 main points, and that is, of course, the running ability, but also 2 other things that are very important for backs, and that is blocking ability and pass receiving ability. Your thoughts about your backfield this year?
Well, I think you got to start with Adrian Carr. Adrian's another gifted athlete. Adrian started for us last year, and he'll be back at the right halfback. And Adrian's a fine athlete. He runs the ball well. He's probably our best blocker, and he's no doubt our best receiver out of the backfield. So we're looking for big things out of Adrian in the backfield. We've got two young guys at fullback, Andy Rudd and who'll be a junior, and Patrick Gaither, who'll be a sophomore. Patrick's a big, strong kid that we think is going to be a really fine football player. Andy's a smaller guy, but he's quick and strong, and both of them we're hoping will give us a tough inside running and also some blocking. The other back that will play a lot should be Reggie Benton. Reggie played some toward the end of the year last year, and Cordell's going to be a junior, and he has great ability also, has good speed and can run the football. And he can catch it pretty well, and if he'll improve his blocking as the year goes on, he'll be a fine one too. So we'll be balanced, we feel like, in the backfield. And the other halfback that'll play some is Kareem Maddox. Kareem is a real small kid, but he's got great quickness and good strength. And we're looking for Kareem to fill in and do some things and make some big plays for us.
And as far as the pass receivers are concerned, maybe a little bit less passing this year under Mike Sellers. Who are the wideouts, and what are you expecting from them in '93?
Well, we were real. I wouldn't say we weren't real optimistic in the spring. We didn't have a very good passing game. We didn't work on it a lot, but we worked very hard on it. We've got two youngsters, really four at wide receiver. We're going to run more one wide out sets this year. We've got 2 or 3 kids working at tight end, and then 2 or 3 working at the wide out. But our first 2 guys would be Patrick Warren. Right now, Patrick's a youngster that moved in from Tennessee, and he's just an old, tall, lean guy that works hard, and he doesn't have a great ability, but he's a hard-working, blocks well, and we feel like he'll be a good possession receiver. The other wide out that'll be in the picture a good bit will be Brian Jones, a senior that's got some speed and can go deep on people, and he's caught some good passes in the scrimmages that we've had, so we feel like Brian's come a long way. Another possession guy that should play some out wide that's very similar to Patrick is Jamie Pruitt, who is a junior that plays some backup quarterback also. And then Kareem plays halfback, quarterback, and some split end. So we've got those 4 guys that could go in the football game at that position. So we're not experienced by any means, but we've got people that work very hard to improve at that area.
The most underrated part of a person's offensive attack or a team's offensive attack most of the time is that offensive line. They are the folks who really get that offense started, be it the running game or the passing game. What are you thinking about from your offensive line this year?
Well, we're very young. We lost a center that was a tremendous football player in Stephen Rhodes, and we lost a starting guard in Marcus Goggins that was a big, fine offensive lineman. But we do have some people back. Kelvin Usher's had a great spring and great fall, and we're looking for big things out of him. He's our big anchor guy. He's 6'4", about 265, and we're going to probably have. We've got both guards back from the end of the year. Two that played a good bit, Doug Pass and Charles Bray. They'll be our guards, and Torrance Brown will be a swing guy at guard. Our other tackle is T.J. Harper, a big, strong 10th grader that we feel like will develop into a fine line, but he's young. And then Charlie Cook will swing with the tackles. And then at the center, we've got a young guy that we really believe will be a fine football player for the leagues, and that's Drew Denman. Drew's a hustler. He's short, stocky, but he's a very intelligent youngster and a very fiery young man, and he's going to be a good youngster at center. And we think they'll all develop, and they may not be there right now, but we think toward the end of the year we could have a really fine group there.
Well, that's the offense for the 1993 Rams. We'll be back to talk about the defense and about the upcoming game against Heritage right after this. And we're back on the Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook, and we're talking now about the defense for the 1993 version of the Newton County Rams. Defense was very young last year, but this year they've all gained an extra year's worth of experience. A lot of juniors there on defense. And what advantage do you think will that extra maturity and the experience of playing together for 1 year and then part of this year, of course, what do you think that'll do for the Newton County defense?
Well, I hope it'll make us a lot better. And it should. We've worked very hard, and we've got some youngsters that we put in there last year and that had to take their beatings and learn. And most of them are back, and we've moved a couple people around, and We've got, like I said, Reggie Benton coming out that's going to be inside, be a little bit of size, but we're still not overpowering the big, but we have got some quickness and we got a little more strength than we had last year up front. And we got Teddy Smith back out that didn't play last year. Teddy's a junior, and he gives us a big, tall guy that can rush the passer from the outside. And so we feel real good about the potential of our defense. And I still think we're very young still, except for 3 seniors. We're still a young defense that should get better every week. And hopefully we'll have, if we don't get injuries, we don't have a lot of depth on defense, but if we don't get injuries, we should be a team that gets better as the year goes on.
Well, we'll start with the defensive line, just talking about specific people here. On the defensive line, some folks last year are gone, but you've got some folks there. Who are you looking for from the defensive line to perform this year?
Well, really, we've got 2 guys that started last year coming back, and that's Courtney Williams and Marcella Banks. Marcella's at defensive end, Courtney at defensive tackle. And we're in a 4-man front type situation most of the time. And those 2 will be a good defensive end. One of them will be a defensive end, and the other will be a defensive tackle. The other 2 defensive tackles are Tony Kelly. Tony's had a good fall and he works hard. He's very disciplined and does a good job. The other guy is Reggie Benton, who's a big, strong guy that should help us in the middle. And in the defensive end, we've got Teddy Smith to go along. And then Courtney swings defensive end and defensive tackle. So those 5 kids we hope will give us a good chance. We play Andy Rudd over there at defensive tackle sometimes on pass rush because of his quickness. And then we're hoping to work Tommy Grimes in at defensive end, who's a big, tall, lean guy that can has some speed and quickness. And we hope he'll give us some depth when we do.
And of course, back there is the linebackers behind the defensive line, and you've got some experience and some strength there as well.
Well, we hope we do. We've got, we feel like one of the better football players we have is Jason Robbins at middle linebacker. We built the defense kind of around Jason. He's a big, strong young man and loves to hit folks. And the other outside linebacker that we're looking for big things from is Tommy Taylor, who's a senior that played last year. And we have a young linebacker, Rico Williams, that's not very big, but he can run and he'll hit you, and he's going to be the other outside linebacker. And we've got 2 or 3 young people that could step in. Kevin Johnson could play some linebacker for us. He's a junior, back out after not playing last year. And also another young guy, Brett Mask, has a chance to play some linebacker. So we're looking for, we've got some depth there. They're all young, but we feel like we've only got the 1 senior there, and we should have some depth for the years out.
And now the next question is, what about the secondary? A few question marks back there. Who are you looking for to perform in the secondary?
Well, Tarl Brown's coming back. Tarl played the last 4 games at Conner. He's a senior leader that we're looking for good things. Tarl's a hitter, and he's not very big, but he can run and hit. And the other side, we've got another little bitty guy, Jamal Marks, who's worked very hard and is improving and getting better every week. And then at safeties, we've got Lamar Hips, who didn't play last year, went to Piedmont, and he's back, played here in the 10th grade. And Lamar, we're looking for big things out of him at strong safety, and then Thomas McCullum at the free safety. Our backup guys right now would probably be Mike Brooks at the corner and Cordell Benton coming over and playing the corner. At the safeties will be Mike Settles and Adrian Carr, and possibly a young guy that could play some before the end of the year is Kevin Thomas, Mike's younger brother. So those guys, we think we'll get better as the year goes on there as they play together and work and get better.
Well, that's your defense. Now, what about special teams in the kicking game? Of course, West Billingsley won a couple of games for you, one in Walton and one against South Gwinnett up in Snellville, and the kicking game looks like it's going to be pretty good. What about the special teams in general?
Well, we're hoping that we're sound there. We work very hard to be, and we've got some ways to go. We're a little concerned about our deep snapping right now. We've got 2 youngsters that are capable, very capable there, but it's been a little inconsistent. Andy Rudd's our deep snapper and did it most of the year last year, and Drew Dimmer's backing him up. But we've got to get a little more consistent with our deep snaps. Jamie Pruitt holds for extra points, and of course Wes is a good, solid extra point kicker and kickoff man. He's gotten stronger, got a little more distance, so we're looking for him to be very adequate and could develop into being an outstanding kicker. And our punting game we're a little concerned with, but Tommy Taylor is very capable, and Tommy just needs to kick a few and get consistent. If we can do that, he's got a strong leg and can kick it a long way. We just got to get consistent there. And our coverage and all has been good in practice. Our returns have been fair. We're hoping that by the middle of the year we'll be a fine return team. We think we got the skill to return kicks, and we should be very good at that, but we're not as good as we want to be right now.
Well, your opponent tonight will be the Heritage Patriots, and last year, your first game here in Newton County as a head coach, a 7-7 tie with Heritage. What are you looking for from them this year? Of course, they've got the quarterback Brandon Gable back for another year. Any other things you're looking for, especially from Heritage?
Well, we know they'll be very much improved. Coach had a lot of kids out last year. They lost very few people that really played a lot. They've got more people back that's played than we do. And they have a lot more numbers than we had last year. Their numbers are up, and the coach has got a lot of them involved. I read in the paper we had 53 kids that came in every workout in the summer, so that tells you that they're interested in they're trying to get better, and we think that they'll be vastly improved, very much improved. We know that they'll get out there on defense, and they move the big lineman that they have at number 67. I understand the inside lineman, he's a football player, and the quarterback's a fine athlete, and they've got wide receivers that are very adequate, and they've got some size too. So we think that Heritage will be much better than they were last year, and we hope that we're better. If we're not, we're going to be in trouble. But we think it'll be kind of interesting. We look forward to going over there and trying to match up and see how it works out.
Well, that game will be coming up in just a couple of minutes, and Coach Cook, I want to thank you very much for taking time out to talk with me on this Friday evening.
We appreciate it, and hope everybody will be there tonight and next week when we have our home opener. We need all the support. These youngsters have worked hard. Our coaches have worked real hard, and they deserve this community support, and I hope that they'll get it.
Rams football against the Heritage Patriots from Reed Stadium in Conyers comes up next here on the Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. The Rams are ready to bring their show home. Join WGFS AM 1430 as we provide live play-by-play coverage of the Newton County Rams home opener against the Lithia Springs Lions. The Rams are going to be Ram tough at Homer Sharp Stadium and will look to move to 1-1 on the 1993 season. Ram football on WGFS AM 1430 is brought to you by the Family Health Food Store, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Covington Cable TV, Mayfield Ace Hardware, City Pharmacy, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store in downtown Covington, East Metro Cellular, Conyers Buick Pontiac GMC, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Ludi Sports Shop, City of Covington Public Utilities, Home Video, Bulldog Tire, and Rhodes Printing. The Newton Ram Tailgate Show begins at 7 o'clock. Play-by-play action with Kevin Holden and Paul Daly begins at 7:30. It's the Rams and the Lions here on your sports leader, WGFS AM 1430. We are back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here in the stands of Homer Sharp Stadium, and we are talking with Ram head football coach Jack Cook. Coach Cook, last week a 38-30 loss to Heritage. However, a lot of bright spots in that game, namely the running game for the Newton County Rams, very good on the ground, 206 yards on the ground from a variety of different runners. Were you impressed with your running game in the first week?
Well, considering being the first ball game, we were pleased with the way we came off the ball and blocked, and our guys, we have ability athletes that can run the football. Mike Sellers, big one, Cordell Benton, and Jamal, not Jamal, but Kareem Maddox, and also Andy Rudd and Patrick Gaither at fullback. Both of them are capable. So we're pleased with what we saw as far as the execution of the wishbone part of the running game. The options went well, but the bottom line is we just turned the football over too much. You would think in our offense it might be a bad pitch would be the reason, and this type of thing, but it really wasn't that. It was more just not securing the football or not catching the pitches that were very good pitches right there, and all it amounts to is we've got to work hard on our concentration and being able to secure the football.
And you talked about the fumbles. Do you have any drills in practice that from a technical standpoint to help your players to keep from fumbling the football?
Oh, yes. We try to work on the concentration drills every day, and the mesh drills every day, and the pitch drills every day, and the pull the ball out drills every day. But there's a lot of difference in working on it in practice and then having the lights on and those other guys grabbing at you and all that. But I think it's more of a, I hope it's just more of a thing that we just going to have to concentrate more and do it without thinking about it.
The Rams had an impressive running game, and they didn't even have Adrian Carr in the ball game. Adrian expected to do big things out of the backfield. And how much will Adrian Carr mean to this team once he comes back?
Well, anytime you get a quality back like Adrian, he'll mean a whole lot to the football team. There's no doubt about that. Of course, we had enough quality people playing where we shouldn't have been in a position to lose the football game possibly, but still. We just made enough mistakes to last us a while, I hope. And but no, Adrian will be a great asset when we get him back. We're hoping he gets to play this week, but if not, if no mishaps take place, he should be ready to go for sure next week.
Well, with Adrian Carr out of the lineup, one of the stars for the Rams was Michael Sellers, as you mentioned, the quarterback in the center of the offense. Were you happy with how he accepted his leadership role during Heritage?
We really were. Mike had an outstanding game. We feel like he read the option well and made the right decisions except for a couple of plays, and that's about all you can ask him to do. And we had some blocking. Our backs blocked well at times, and our line came off well at times. And we've got to get more consistency, total consistency there. But that's what you work for every day in practice, and I think we'll continue to improve in that area. And if we do, then and secure the ball, we'll be a decent football team on offense.
And I wanted to ask you about the defense as well. Of course, giving up 38 points in that game, but a lot of that, of course, had to do with Heritage getting good field position throughout the game, that due to a variety of different factors. But the defense had some strong points as well.
Well, I thought we defended the run, with the exception of about 4 plays, very well. We had some mishaps in the pass defense area, but it was more of a assignment type situation where we didn't pick up who we were supposed to pick up or what we were supposed to pick up on the reads, and that can come with continued work and practice. Everything that we did there was correctable. We had a couple of plays where they ran the football we didn't contain, but most of all we had the 2 big passes. It was a big letdown. And other than that, I thought we played hard on defense, but here again, it's awful hard when they can run anything they want to and you're inside your 25. You've got to be a really outstanding defensive team, and we're still, you say, well, we ought to be better on defense, and I think we will be better on defense, but we're still a young ball club, and that's I don't believe in making excuses. Everybody's got young players and all that, but we're still a predominantly young football team, and I hope that we will, due to that, be a type team that'll work hard in practice and get better every week, and that's what we're counting on. We got good kids with good attitudes, and they're willing to work, and so if they'll do that and concentrate and just then continue to perform and then kind of forget about what happened last week and go forward, then we think we'll be all right on both sides of the ball.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll ask you one more question about last week's game, about the special teams, which has to do with your experienced kicker, Wes Billingsley, and an inexperienced punter, Tommy Taylor, but both turned in pretty good ball games.
It really did. I think we pushed 1 extra point out wide, and other than that, the kicking game was perfect as far as the kickers were concerned. Tommy had a good punt, it got a good roll, and kicked it away from the coverage, away from their receivers. But we did have 2 breakdowns. We fumbled a kickoff, and we also let them return a kickoff about 90 yards or 85 yards to our 22-yard line, and those 2 mistakes haunt you because that got them back in the football game. And we're not perfect in the kicking game yet, and that's what we're going to continue to strive to be. We've got to be. Of course, they have an outstanding kicker themselves. Heritage did. We won't see one any better, and I don't think anybody else has got one any better than Wes. I think Wes is a coming guy as a kicker, and he'll be that really good kicker next year. And we've got Steve Smith coming along, and I think he'll be a good punter and good kicker too. So we've got some fine kicking, I think, in front of us, but we won't see a kicker any better than Heritage has. No.
Well, enough about Heritage, and we'll come back in just a minute and talk about the game coming up against Lithia Springs right after this. You're listening to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back again on the Newton Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden and Coach Jack Cook of the Newton County Rams will be taking on the Lithia Springs Lions tonight in their home opener here at Homer Sharp Stadium. And I wanted to ask you first about the schedule that the Rams have this year. All 10 games against the opponents are in the same order as they were last year. Last year we played Lithia Springs the second week after playing Heritage the first week. Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage for your team to have the same schedule 2 years in a row?
Well, I think it's an advantage. It'd suit me if it was that way for 10 years, because you get used to going out their place one year and our place the next, and that's the way you do it 2 years at a time. But no, it's no advantage or disadvantage, I don't think. The region will change that this year some. They always do every 2 years, according to people that are in and out, and people want to rotate you up on the schedule and this type of thing. But the pre-region schedule, it's very nice to have it in order, and we've got a good situation where we play away 1 week, home the next, and away and home. That's great. So the schedule's it's the same for everybody. So, but we feel like Lithia Springs is a up-and-coming ball club. They've got a new coach, new enthusiasm in their school and community, and the kids seem to play hard last week, and they've got enough of those guys that played against us last year to know that they can beat us. And they've got a lot of young players, but they've got a lot of those old guys back that beat us last year that they're probably chomping at the bit to get over here and play us. And we look for that. But our guys, I hope enough of them are here to remember that last year was one of those could-haves, just like last week, coulda type deal. And they just did a better job than we did and came out on top. But hopefully we'll improve this week and do our part. Anybody likes to win your home opener, and that's what we're hopefully will be able to do.
Any changes planned on offense or defense against Lithia Springs?
Not really. They run a wing tee, and that'll be hard to defend, and they run a 50 defense with all the variations, and they like to stunt, and they've got a lot of quickness, and they've got some speed on offense. I think size-wise, we probably match up real well there. We're not real big on defense, but we got some linemen that are big, just like some of their linemen are. So that's relatively even. It's just a matter of do we execute better than they do, and I think that's going to be what it boils down to.
And during practice this week, anything special that you were working on preparing for Lithia Springs?
Well, we did mention Monday morning and Tuesday a little bit about holding on to the football and wrapping it up, but we didn't try to make a big deal out of it because I think when you start worrying about something so much, you're more apt to do it out of worry. We don't want our kids. We want them to play reckless and play, but we also want them to play sound. And so we had to mention that and work at it a little bit and get our guys concentrating on just securing the ball and then do their thing running with it. And if we do that, we'll be okay, and they'll even out in the long run. Maybe we'll go 3 or 4 weeks without a fumble or anything, all
Tradition and excellence since 1946. That's WGFS, AM 1430, Covington.
Good morning. It's time now for the Coach's Breakfast with Kevin Holden. Kevin?
Thank you very much, Holly Robbins, and we are out here at Shoney's, just off Highway 278 here in Covington, and we have got a group with us this morning for the Coach's Breakfast. And in our first segment of the Coach's Breakfast, I wanted to talk to the Newton County head football coach, Jack Cook, about the last game against Heritage last week, and more importantly, about the upcoming game tonight against Lithia Springs. First of all, what was the number one point of pride for the Rams in last week's game against Heritage? I know the running game was a big factor.
Well, it really was, and I think our intensity level was good, and our effort was there. We played hard. We just made so many mistakes that it was hard to overcome ourselves. That was what we were thrilled with, was with the effort that everybody gave and the togetherness that the kids had trying to pull together to win the football game. We feel like we're self-destructed, and if we'll correct some of our misplays there, we feel like these guys, if they continue to work and improve and play together, we're going to be okay throughout the year.
And Newton County will take that running attack against Lithia Springs tonight in the home opener. Expected a very, very large crowd out at Homer Sharp Stadium. And the field conditions out there at Homer Sharp looking very, very good. Lots of improvements out there.
Well, we want to thank Bill Rosser and Dr. Clamp and Mr. Burnson and all the people at the Board of Education. They've, in the budget this year, I guess they've allowed a little bit of money and a whole lot of work to be done at the stadium, and it's really gratifying to see the efforts that are being made on behalf of our kids to put a class place on display for them to play, and that's been accomplished. Homer Sharp is a fine stadium. They completely redid the visitor side and painted it. We got new glass in the press box. Painted and cleaned the visitors' dressing room. New benches on the sideline, permanent type aluminum benches, and it's not a lot of big things, but a lot of little things that show that our system is committed to a class program and everything it does, and we want to express our appreciation to the folks that led this and got it accomplished, and we hope the kids will be proud of it and be ready to go out there and kind of show out.
Well, Sharp Field looks exactly that, sharp for tonight's game against Lithia Springs. Coach, what can we expect from Lithia Springs, a team that runs out of the wing tee and had a lot of offensive weapons last year?
Well, they're a different ball club this year. Last year they were more of a come-at-you type, power-type ball club, and this year they're a little more finesse, but they do have the big fullback back, and they ran him a whole lot last week, and I think he had about 80 or 90 yards rushing against a good Fayette County team. So they attack you mainly with the misdirection, Delaware with the fullback being the primary point. And defensively they depend on the experience that they have at linebacker, and they've got two linebackers coming back that played last year and a couple other guys. So they're a quick team on defense. They're not all that big and awesome as far as size, but they're very quick, and they play very good defense. And offensively, Fayette County just has an outstanding defense themselves, or I think they would have exploited them more. But we look for them to use a lot of misdirection and quickness type things on offense and defense.
And the Lithia Springs Lions coming to Sharp Field tonight. Game time is 7:30. The tailgate show begins at 7 o'clock with myself and also with Paul Daly, who is wandering around Shoney's here somewhere. I saw him a couple minutes ago. He'll be back here with us shortly, I am sure. We have three players from the Newton County team here. We have Kelvin Usher along with Jason Robbins and Mike Sellers, continuing the tradition of Dusty's Corner. We will talk with Mike Sellers in just a little while. But, Coach, I wanted to ask you one question about Jason, who is here with us this morning. Used on offense a little bit in the Heritage game as well as another tight end.
Well, we feel like we've got about 4 or 5 youngsters that have to fill in some on both sides of the ball, and we don't have the depth yet to just say, well, you're going to play one way and one way only, and Jason's one of those guys, Mike's one of them, Adrian's one of them. We've got 2 or 3 more that may have to fill in one side or the other. And when we go 2 tight end situations, we don't have but 2, so we try to get 3 by moving Jason over there. And he's a big, strong guy and can do a good job blocking. And so we'll use him in some short yardage and going in type situations at tight end, and he does a good job.
Well, we've got just 1 minute left, and a question that has pretty much become a tradition here on the Coach's Breakfast, something unrelated to football, but I have to ask you anyway. The Braves, once again, impressive, and only 1 game back now.
Well, it's just a matter of time. We've said that all the time. It's just a matter of time. And they're putting the big squeeze on now. So it'll be about this time next week, it'll be in first place.
The Atlanta Braves defeated the Padres last night on a one-hitter for those of you who just got up this morning. Braves won by a score of 1-0 on a Ron Gant home run in the 10th inning. Meanwhile, the Cardinals over the Giants 7-4. That puts the Braves 1 game back in the National League Western Division. We'll be back with more here from Shoney's on Highway 278. Drop on by, get some breakfast here at Shoney's. They have a very excellent breakfast bar. And join us for the Coach's Breakfast. Back to you, Holly.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. We will get back to you just in a moment. We're going to take a look at the official weather forecast first, and we'll do that for you after this.
September's best buys at Mayfield Ace Hardware include Ace, our best 7-star satin latex wall and trim paint, only $11.99 a gallon. Ace plastic sheeting in clear or black has hundreds of uses, only $2.44 each. Ace silicone sealant with a 50-year warranty, $1.99 a tube. And 60 yards of Ace all-purpose duct tape, $2.77 each. Shop at Mayfield Ace Hardware for outstanding savings this fall. Mayfield Ace Hardware, 2 locations on the Square and in Newton Plaza, Covington.
This September on HBO, experience what may be the most important movie event of the year, the true story of the most deadly disease of our time. Matthew Modine stars with Alan Alda, Richard Gere, Angelica Houston, Steve Martin, Lily Tomlin, Phil Collins, and Swoosie Kurtz in the HBO original movie, And the Band Played On. Then there's good reason to stay home Saturdays. Big box office movies premiering every Saturday night, like the suspense thriller Single White Female with Bridget Fonda, Innocent Blood with Don Rickles, and Rapid Fire starring Brandon Lee. Big box office hits, the brightest stars, the best original movies. HBO in September. If you think you've seen it all, just you wait.
Call Covington Cable TV 787-4444. That's Covington Cable TV 787-4444.
Listen to the top brass. We do. And the City of Covington Electric System, you're more than just a customer. You're a utility owner. That makes you our top priority. When you call the tune as one of our customer owners, it's our business to listen. This is what makes public power special. Local control means that everyone has a say in how the utility is operated and how community goals are met. Public ownership of electric service is like owning your own home. Private ownership is like renting it. Because public power is not for profit, our only mission is to provide reliable electric service at fair rates. The City of Covington Electric System counts every citizen as top brass. When you sound off, we pay attention. Look at public power in a new light. After all, it's yours.
The official weather forecast from the National Weather Service calls for partly cloudy skies today with a 20% chance of showers and a high temperature in the upper 80s. Tonight, fair and cooler with a low in the upper 50s. Tomorrow, sunny and mild with your high temperature in the low 80s. Our extended forecast calls for sunny skies and fair conditions on Sunday, then partly sunny and fair on Monday and Tuesday. Your highs during that time will be in the upper 70s or low 80s, and your lows will be in the upper 50s or low 60s. Right now it's 72 degrees outside our broadcast center. You're listening to your weather station, WGFS.
Covington's weather station, AM 1430, WGFS.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Holden, Georgia Network Sports. Quite a win it was for the Braves last night, 1-0 over the San Diego Padres. While that happened, the Braves got some help from the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals beat the Giants 9-4, so the Braves now only one game back in the National League West. Last night, quite a night it was for Kent Merker, 6 innings without giving up a hit. Mark Wohlers, Greg McMichael followed. They gave up just one hit as the Braves win it 1-0. Quite a night for Ron Gant. He won it in the 10th inning with a home run. Earlier in the game, in the 6th inning, he may have saved the day out in the outfield.
Lopez leading off, first pitch swinging, sends it to left field. Gant is there, gets the wall, makes the catch. Gant is down. But what a great running catch as he smashes into the wall. Yeah, I'll tell you, he is still a little groggy. Otis Nixon over to have a look. But he took extra bases away from Lopez.
And quite a play it was, and let's get more now on the Braves' victory from Matt Stewart. He's out there in San Diego.
The Braves managed only one run, but then again, the combo of Kent Merker, Mark Wohlers, and Greg McMichael allowed only one hit, as Atlanta is now pulled within one of San Francisco in the NL West. The one hit was a check swing single off Mark Wohlers in the 8th after Kent Merker had gone 6 hitless innings.
I don't even think about no hits. I just think about no runs, and I mean, if you get no hits, that's a bonus, but you know, I'd rather throw 10 shutouts a year than 2 no-hitters a year.
Not to be forgotten, the play of Ron Gant. He made a crashing catch into the left field wall in the 6th to rob Luis Lopez of extra bases, and then blasted a solo shot in the 10th for the game's only run. I asked him which was bigger.
I don't care. I'm just glad we won. That's all. I mean, both of them were important. I mean, I think it was he was the first batter of the inning, and if that ball gets over my head, it's extra bases for sure. So, you know, it was a big catch, but you know, our pitchers went on to do what they had to do, and I'm just glad I came up in the situation to hit a home run, and I did.
It is not at all unrealistic that the Braves could be in first by the end of this road trip. In San Diego, Matt Stewart, Georgia Network Sports.
And tonight they've got Greg Maddox on the mound. It's a 10:35 starting time at San Diego. This is Georgia Network Sports.
Billy Joe was new on the cherry picker crew, working high above the street. He didn't miss a beat. Shame he didn't miss those overhead power lines, too.
That's the day that the lights went out in Georgia, when we lost our power and
Before you work near power lines, call the Utilities Protection Center of Georgia, toll-free, 800-282-7411, so proper safety measures can be taken. It's not only smart, it's the law.
That's the day that the lights went out in Georgia. So call before you work, whatever you do.
Remember, whether you work overhead or underground, you'll stay hassle-free when you call the UPC.
On the scoreboard last night, besides the Braves' 1-0 win and the Cardinals' 9-4 win over the Giants, it was the Dodgers' a 6-5 win over Florida in 10. Rockies beat the Pirates 10-7 in 12 innings, and the Phillies a 10-8 win over the Cubs. In the American League, Toronto falls into a tie for first as they were beaten by Oakland 7-4. Minnesota down Cleveland 5-3 in 12 innings, and California 6-0 over Detroit. College football from last night, it was Syracuse, a 41-22 win over East Carolina. I'm Steve Holden, Georgia Network Sports.
Covington's radio station, AM 1430, WGFS.
Football Friday on this Friday afternoon, September 10th. It's 72 degrees outside our studios on Hendrick Street in downtown Covington. We now return to the Coach's Breakfast with WGFS Sports Director Kevin Holden.
Hey, that's me. Thanks a lot, Holly Robbins, and we are out here at Shoney's just off Highway 278, bringing you the Coach's Breakfast on this Football Friday morning. And it's the second segment of the Coach's Breakfast, and in the second segment, we have a couple of folks that we'll be speaking to. We'll start with Coach Dunkling, the offensive coordinator for the Newton County Rams. And, Coach, last week the Newton County Rams had a very impressive running game. Some trouble holding on to the football, but they pick up in excess of 200 yards on the ground. And this team seems to have several folks who can run with the football and run very well.
That's right. We had a very good ground game last week against Heritage, and thought we went in with a good game plan and put a lot of points on the board. I think the two big question areas that we had, we were real pleased with, and that was the offensive line and the fullback situation, because we're young in both places, and both those spots performed well, and we were real pleased as well as displeased in the amount of times that we laid the football on the ground.
And also, Adrian Carr, not in the game against Heritage, and one of the big running backs for the Newton County Rams is Adrian Carr. How much does Adrian mean to this offense, and how much more of an improvement will it be when he comes back?
Well, you can't measure that in terms of, I think, in the terms that we'd like to, but he's a valuable asset. But as well as we're team oriented, and I think Kareem Maddox did a great job filling in last week for Adrian being out injured, and I think motivation-wise, the kids are happy that he's back, with us, and I think it just gives us an edge confidence-wise, both physically and mentally.
And as far as the passing game is concerned, not much need to have it so far, as the running game seems to be working very well. But how much are you going to be passing in the next couple of weeks?
Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pass when we want to pass, and not have the opposition make us have to throw the football. And if we can rack up 250-plus yards on the ground, we'll take that. And as well as Mike and Coach Tunson and that crew have been working real hard on the passing game, and we have full confidence in it. And we're going to utilize it as we desire, and hopefully not let the opposition dictate that to us.
And, Coach, as an offensive coordinator, you have been looking at the Lithia Springs defense. Your impressions about them?
Well, they got a couple big defensive tackles. The nose tackle, I think, runs around 240 pounds, and then they got another kid who's a sophomore at the other defensive tackle spot at about 225. And other than that, they're about our size, and they're quick and agile. Got two experienced fullbacks and some athletes in the secondary. But I think we stack up against them pretty well, and I think we'll do well running the football, against their defense.
Well, Coach Dunkling, we appreciate you dropping by on the Coach's Breakfast. Enjoy the fine breakfast bar here at Shoney's, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of you here on the Coach's Breakfast.
Hopefully so. I appreciate it.
And we're going to talk now to Lowell Williamson, the principal of Newton County High School, and we'll be talking about the school year, the 93-94 school year, as we do the Alice in Wonderland routine, all of us switching chairs here. Mr. Williamson, there's been talk, of course, about the new school coming in. Has the talk bothered anyone at Newton County High School?
No, I don't think so. We're just looking forward to next year having instead of having around 2,100 students, I think we'll end up with somewhere around, probably around 1,900 students. So I think that's going to be an asset for our total system.
Now, I wanted to ask you, of course, about last week's game against Heritage. You had a chance to see it, and a lot of strong points, especially yards gained on the ground.
Yeah, it was. I think the coaches prepared the young men real well. The young men did real well on the field, except, as we all know, in the area of securing the ball. And I think that I've talked with Coach Cook, I've talked with Coach Dunkling, talked with some of the players, and they are committed tonight to hold on to that football, and I think that they will do that tonight.
Mr. Williamson, one more question about the school. Any special projects, vocational projects, or field trips that are of note early on in the school year? I guess there aren't as many as there are later on in the school year, but anything out there of note?
I know that there is a field trip coming up to Drama Tech, I think, at Georgia Tech, and some English departments are going to go, and some English classes will go and see some plays. That's, I think, later on in next month, in fact, in October. You're right. We have some field trips that will be coming on later on in the year, but right now, most people will stay in class.
Just getting settled in at Newton County High School and prepared for tonight's game against the Lithia Springs Lions. We'll be back with your final segment of the Coach's Breakfast right after local news. We'll have the Osgood File coming up for you at 7:25, followed by Holly Robbins with your local news at 7:30.
Join us for Healthline this Friday, September 10th, as we talk about peripheral arterial disease, a problem very common to diabetics and people with high blood pressure and heart disease. Our special guest will be Bill Bedreau, so join us this Friday morning for Healthline at 8:40 a.m.
It's now time for the Osgood File on the CBS Radio Network.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Healthy Choice Pasta Sauce and by Pontiac at your local Pontiac dealer. I'm Charles Osgood. More and more students are going to college to learn how to grow grass, and graduates with this skill have no problems finding jobs. The students are studying turf grass management, and employment opportunities can be found as close as the nearest golf course. More after this from Healthy Choice. It is almost impossible to cook for the Osgood family anymore. Annie has decided that she is a vegetarian, Jamie won't eat fish, Emily will only eat certain vegetables, and Winston and Kathleen are too busy to eat. But my wife Jean knows how to do the impossible, get everybody at the table and make them happy at dinner time. They all love spaghetti and that wonderful Healthy Choice spaghetti sauce. It's made from vine-ripened tomatoes and real Italian herbs and spices, but there's no added oil, which means it's low in fat and calories. I like the chunky kind with the zucchini, carrots, and onions in there. Let Healthy Choice make these busy times healthy times for you and your family.
It's more than the feel of leather. It's a feel for the road. It's more than dual airbags and anti-lock brakes. It's pure control. The Bonneville SSEI. And when you see it, you'll forget all about the BMWs of the world. You could spend a lot more, but why? You're driving
Mr. Average Homeowner doesn't go to college to learn how to take care of his front lawn. So why should anybody go to college to learn how to grow grass for a golf course? Well, for one thing, golfers won't settle for just any blade of green.
If you look at the ultimate golf course putting green, is often mowed at a height of 1/8 of an inch. That means the plants are very small, they're very dense, and they're actually fairly weak plants. So it becomes very difficult to keep them alive, and the challenge for the superintendent is to try to provide that best playing surface you can while keeping the plants alive, and those often turn out to be conflicting ways to go.
Bruce Branham teaches turf grass management at Michigan State University, one of dozens of schools around the country that now offer such programs. This is no snap course, Branham says. There's much more to it than you might think.
They'll have to take chemistry, mathematics, microbiology, and biology, and then they start learning about soils and processes that affect soil fertility and plant nutrition, and then also the problems with growing grass, identifying grasses, how to take care of them, fertilization, irrigation, pest control.
Graduates might be employed in parks, at plant nurseries, or as stadium groundskeepers, but the majority are aiming for the golf course.
Most commonly, they're avid golfers, so they see this as a way of combining the game they love with a full-time job. Second of all, they often like to work outdoors.
And they can find work at the 14,000 golf courses nationwide. Salaries for turf grass managers range from the low 20s for beginners up to 6 figures for superintendents of big city courses. But you better beware of one professional liability.
I've had many superintendents tell me they can't stand to play their own course because as they go around, they see all these things that need to be done.
They say the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. If you're in the turf grass management business, it better not be. The Osgood File, Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
Last night, I added up all the sales charges on the mutual funds I've been buying, and I feel like I'm losing money before I start. There has to be a better way.
Now there is a better way. Introducing the Mutual Fund OneSource service from Charles Schwab. OneSource offers 200 well-known mutual funds with no loads and no transaction fees. Just call Schwab's OneSource at 1-800-4-NO-LOAD. That's 1-800-4-NO-LOAD. Prospectuses are available and should be read carefully before investing. 12B1 fees over 0.25% and some other restrictions may apply.
The Osgood File, September 10th, 1993.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. The right time to start your day with Channel 2 Action News this morning.
Good morning, Karen. Time for the latest news from overnight. Time for weather and traffic reports every 10 minutes.
6 o'clock in the morning.
The best time for the best balance of local, regional, and national news.
Now, Channel 2 Action News this morning with Vic Carter and Karen Minton.
Weekdays 6 to 7 a.m. Early morning coverage you can count on. Channel 2 Action News. The investigative reports more people watch. Channel 2 Action News. When consumer investigator Patrick Crosby exposed companies allegedly paying people to keep quiet about dangerous products, more people watched. When Lynn Harrison opened the door on why women pay more people watched. When Richard Belcher broke the story of your money being used to hide charges of discrimination at Georgia Tech, more people watched. The investigative reports more people watch. Channel 2 Action News. Coverage you can count on.
WGFS News Time, 7:30. WGFS, AM 1430, Covington and Newton County's only daily local news source. Good morning. For Ramsey Furniture, I'm Holly Robbins reporting. I'll be back with local news for you after this.
If you need carpet or vinyl for your house, call Ramsey Furniture Company at 786-2635, and we will be glad to come to your home and give you a free estimate on what it will cost to install new carpet or vinyl in your home. You will find Ramsey Furniture Company, this area's oldest carpet and vinyl dealer, will save you money. So call us today for a free estimate on your carpet and vinyl needs at Ramsey Furniture Company, 1145 Clark Street, near the courthouse in Covington.
Only minor injuries were reported in a two-vehicle accident yesterday morning on Highway 278 at West Street. According to reports, the Department of Transportation had placed cones to block off one lane of traffic on Highway 278. The driver of a car pulled in front of a pickup to avoid the blocked lane. Again, only minor injuries were reported in that incident. If you think the Georgia State Patrol is going to take a break this weekend just because Labor Day traffic period is over, think again. We have this report.
Georgia State Patrol officers were out in force last weekend due to the Labor Day holiday traffic period, but that force continues through this weekend. It's called the statewide seatbelt roadblock enforcement blitz. Troopers will strictly enforce Georgia seatbelt and child restraint laws during this blitz. Georgia State Patrol Officer Ernie Bolden explains.
Everyone in every vehicle, with the exception of a pickup truck, is required to wear a seatbelt. We're limited in what we can do about it. We can't just pull you over if we see that you're not wearing a seatbelt, say the driver of a vehicle. You have to be committing another offense such as speeding. When we pull you over for that, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, then you can be cited for not having a seatbelt on. But it is a good law. There are people out there that don't want to wear the seatbelt and won't wear it, but will because there is a law that requires them to.
Seatbelts, according to the Department of Public Safety, save lives.
If we can get everybody to wear their seatbelt, we're going to lose a lot less people. I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I, like many police officers, have never unbuckled a dead man from a car. I've worked, I can't tell you how many wrecks over the years where a person was killed, and there's no doubt in my mind or anyone else's that if they had a seatbelt on, they would have survived the accident. And of the ones who are not killed, you have others who are injured severely, who would have not had as serious an injury if they had a seatbelt on.
That's Trooper Ernie Bolden. According to GSP radio operator Julie Wright, last year's traffic fatality count in Newton County might have been lessened if more people had worn seat belts.
Well, in Newton County, there were a total of 10 fatalities, and of those 10, there was one that they listed as unknown. They could not determine whether or not they had any seatbelt equipment on. The other 9 did not have any seatbelt equipment at all on. They were carried as no seatbelt.
Currently, the seatbelt usage rate in Georgia stands at 54%. The Georgia Office of Highway Safety hopes to raise the seatbelt usage rate to 70% or greater by the end of September. This is Susan Fuller, WGFS News.
Jury selection is slow in the trial of Norris Speed, the man accused of killing Atlanta police officer Niles Johansson. The slain officer lived in Newton County and was shot to death in an Atlanta housing project while on duty. We have this report.
Judge Isaac Jenrette, impatient over the pace of questioning by defense attorney Mike Mears, wants to speed things up. That brought about this exchange between the judge and Mears.
He can't get a fair trial. He doesn't have fair jurors.
Well, is that to say the court's not being fair about it, or the court's just not knowing what Mr. Mears wants to do?
Your Honor, I made my position known to the court, too.
And I ruled on it. It's time to sit down. Bring in the next juror.
The state is seeking the death penalty for Norris Speed. Speed is accused of gunning down police officer Niles Johansson in December 1991 in a southeast Atlanta housing project. Testimony in the trial is not expected to begin until next week. Bill Edge, Georgia Network News.
The U.S. Senate is endorsing a policy on gays in the military that is tougher than President Clinton's proposal. At the urging of Senator Sam Nunn, senators voted 63-33 against an attempt by liberal lawmakers to eliminate the tougher policy and allow the president to have the final say. The Perry Democrat insists that policy is in keeping with President Clinton's wishes.
This policy and legislation is consistent with the president's policy. People may not like it, but it's consistent with the president's policy.
Nunn's proposal would prohibit the military from asking recruits about their sexual orientation, but it leaves open the possibility such questions could resume in the future. Senator Nunn states that some people may not like it, but it is in keeping with the president's policy.
I believe that this legislative position is consistent with the president's policy. I think it is, bottom line, as fair as we can be to individuals involved.
Another exciting night of football action in store for you here on WGFS as the Newton County Rams get ready to take on Lithia Springs at Sharp Field. WGFS Sports Director Kelvin Holden has the story.
Newton County Rams football continues this evening as the Rams 1993 football team takes on Lithia Springs here at Homer Sharp Stadium in the home opener of the 1993 season. The Rams are coming off a 38-30 loss at the hands of the Heritage Patriots. Lots of bright spots, though, for Newton County in that game. One thing they will need to improve on is handling the football, as Newton County committed 7 fumbles in the game against Heritage. If they hold on to the football, things look good for tonight against the Lithia Springs Lions. Come on out to Homer Sharp Stadium in Covington for the Rams home opener, or you can listen to the game live here on WGFS AM 1430, beginning with the tailgate show at 7 o'clock with Kevin Holden and Paul Daly. Kevin Holden reporting for WGFS Sports.
The Newton County Voters League invites non-registered eligible voters to register this Saturday, September 11th. The voter registration drive will be held during the Black Arts Festival from 10 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon at the R.L. Cousins Middle School on Geiger Street. In military news, Navy Seaman recruit Carrie Tanya Jones recently completed basic training in Orlando, Florida. Jones is the daughter of the Reverend Carl and Eunice Jones of Moat Road in Covington. She is a 1991 graduate of Newton County High School. Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class Kevin Bills is aboard the USS Normandy, homeported in Staten Island, New York. Bills is on a 6-month deployment in the Mediterranean Sea. He is a 1990 graduate of Newton County, and he is the son of Catherine Bills of McGivney Road in Covington. Navy hospitalman James Myers, a 1990 graduate of Rockdale County High School, recently graduated from the Field Medical Service School in Camp Pendleton, California. Marine Lance Corporal Christopher Pruitt is serving with 2nd Low Altitude Air Defense Battalion, 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing at Cherry Point, North Carolina. He is a 1991 graduate of Rockdale County High School and is the son of Joe and Donna McPherson of Conyers. Navy Petty Officer 2nd Class Daniel C. Burdett, a 1982 graduate of Rockdale County, recently reported for duty at the U.S. Naval Station, Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico. Marine Private James Rhymes completed recruit training at Paris Island, South Carolina. He is the son of Gwen and James Rhymes of Glen Ridge Court in Conyers. Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class James C. Williamson is aboard the USS Scott on a 6-month deployment in the Mediterranean Sea. He is a 1990 graduate of Rockdale County High School. I'll be back with more for you after this.
This is Sam Ramsey at Ramsey Furniture Company. Let my experience in the furniture business help you keep from making a very costly mistake. I have people every day come in my store and they have no earthly idea how to look for quality when buying upholstered furniture. When I start talking about an 8-way hand-tied coil spring unit, most of them don't know what I'm talking about. And yet if you don't get an 8-way hand-tied coil spring unit under a sofa, you're not getting much of a sofa. I can show you how to tell whether a sofa's got an 8-way hand-tied coil spring unit. I tell you, most of the ones we sell at Ramsey Furniture Company have it. They will last you a long time. I can tell you about 80% of the sofas that you see displayed on the market today do not have it, and the customer had better beware and know what he's buying, or he will get carried for a ride, so to speak. So come shop and save at Ramsey Furniture Company, the store that's been known for quality since 1919.
In your death and funeral announcements, funeral services for Mr. Earl Radabaugh of Conyers will be held today, September 10th, at 11 o'clock in the morning from the Rockdale Baptist Church in Conyers. Dr. Stephen Powers and the Reverend John Haynes will officiate. Interment will be in Green Meadow Memorial Gardens in Conyers. In lieu of flowers, contributions may be made to Rockdale Baptist Church Building Fund, 1295 Smyrna Road, Conyers, Georgia, 30207. He is survived by his wife, Mrs. Polly Radabaugh of Conyers, a son and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Radabaugh of Silver Springs, Maryland, a daughter and her husband, Mr. and Mrs. Terry and Linda Snyder of Richmond, Virginia, mother, Mrs. Zera Lowe of Conyers, an aunt, uncles, nieces, and nephews. Harry L. White Funeral Home Incorporated of Conyers is in charge of arrangements. Funeral services for Mr. Willie B. Smith of 106 Valley Street in New Bern will be held tomorrow, September 11th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Springfield Baptist Church in New Bern. The Reverend James Russell will officiate. Interment will be in New Bern Cemetery. Survivors include his wife, Mrs. Clara J. Smith, 6 sons, Mr. Willie F. Smith, Mr. Jimmy L. Smith, Mr. Clarence R. Smith, Mr. Henry N. Smith, Mr. Tommy L. Smith, and Mr. Charlie Nash. 5 daughters, Miss Sadie G. Smith, Mrs. Emma Williams, Mr. and Mrs. James and Lucille Avery, Mrs. Gracie M. Smith, and Mrs. Betty Turk. 8 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren, 1 brother and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. James Otis Smith, 1 sister, Mrs. Willie M. Stevens, and a host of other nieces, nephews, and other relatives and friends. Remains will lie in state at the church from 12 noon until the hour of service. Family and friends will assemble at 106 Valley Street in New Bern at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Lester Lackey & Sons Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. It is now 7:41. The official weather forecast from the National Weather Service calls for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers today and a high temperature in the upper 80s. Tonight, fair and cooler with a low in the upper 50s. Tomorrow, it will be sunny and mild with a high temperature in the low 80s. Our extended forecast calls for sunny skies and fair on Sunday, then partly sunny and fair on Monday and Tuesday. Your highs during this time will be in the upper 70s, and your lows will be in the upper 50s to low 60s. Right now it is 72 degrees outside our broadcast center. This local news a service of Ramsey Furniture. Depend on WGFS for CBS News on the Hour, Georgia Network News, local news 5 times daily, and local news bulletins at once. On Covington and Newton Counties' only daily local news source, WGFS AM 1430. This is Holly Robbins reporting.
Covington's radio station, AM 1430, WGFS.
We now return to the Coach's Breakfast with WGFS Sports Director Kelvin Holden.
Well, thank you very much. WGFS's very own Holly Robbins, the sports goddess herself, and we are out here at the Coach's Breakfast, and we are here with lots of folks from the Newton County High School football team, 3 players, which we will get to in just a moment. Hold on, guys. Don't go anywhere. And we've also got Coach Cook here, along with Coach Dunkling, and my color guy for tonight's game, Paul Daly, who is there enjoying his fruit for today. And we're also talking with Lowell Williamson, the principal of Newton County High School, and talking about a pep rally that will be going on this afternoon.
Kevin, we do have our first pep rally of the season. We're looking forward to it. The players are looking real forward to it. Our cheerleaders have got a few things going on today. It's going to be a little special. The pep rally will start at about 3 o'clock and last for about 30 minutes. It's an exciting time, first pep rally of the season. Get some school spirit, and I just invite everyone to come out and support the Rams tonight.
And that special pep rally, as you heard, going on from 3 until 3:30 at Newton County High School. And now, the segment that we've been waiting for, we're going to be talking to the players, and we are going to begin with Kelvin Usher, and we're going to sit down here and speak with Kelvin Usher about last week's game against Heritage, a 38-30 loss, but Heritage mentioning before the game about their offensive and defensive line being their strengths. Your thoughts about the line's performance in the game against Newton County?
Well, the defensive line, they were small in size and they wasn't very quick, and we drove them off the ball pretty well. Overall, we had a pretty good game.
And talking about Lithia Springs coming up tonight, based on the tapes, what have you seen from Lithia Springs as their strong points?
Well, their defensive line, they pretty quick, and they small in size, and they got some pretty good linebackers, so I think we contain them and working them pretty good. We'll be all right.
Containing the linebackers will be the key, and one linebacker that we're going to talk to now is Jason Robbins, no relation to WGFS's very own Holly Robbins, who happens to be sitting back on the control board right now. But Jason Robbins, before it's over with, will probably be known as the police would say, the king of pain, as he puts some hits on those folks from the opposing offenses. And Jason, talk first about the Heritage offense, especially Brandon Gable, that big quarterback.
Brandon Gable's a pretty good quarterback. Surprised me, anyway. I mean, they was talking about him being a Division I prospect, and after last week, I might agree. He threw some pretty good passes. And then if they had ran the ball every time, I believe we could have stopped them. But we just gave up too many big plays on sudden change, we just got to get better at that.
And looking at the Lithia Springs offense last year, lots of offensive weapons. They would hand the ball off to 2 or 3 or 4 different people. They'd do a little bit of passing. What would you expect from the Lithia Springs offense this year?
Well, they got their skilled people back, so I'm sure they're going to try to get them into the ball game, try to get them on the corners. They got some pretty good wide receivers. But if they run, you know what we're going to do. We're going to stop them.
Looking to stop the run, and you did a very good job of that against Heritage last week. Now, the defense as a unit is a pretty strong unit this year. You guys played together pretty much all of last year and through spring practice and during the practices this year. Does playing together as a unit like that help you guys as you go into the game situations?
Oh, yes, a lot. I mean, we can depend on each other, and we just know the other person's going to be there, hopefully. And so we ain't got to look over our back, and we just play our position and worry about ourselves. And so everybody else worries about themselves, and we'll play good as a team that way. They do their job.
And the Newton County defense is going to be a very strong defense this year in 1993. And we're going to talk now to Mike Sellers. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the microphone to Mike Sellers. What a fitting name for a radio guy, Mike. And you've got about 5 minutes, Mike, for the continuation of Dusty's Corner. If you want to give it a new name, now is your time. Take the mic away, Mike.
All right, this is Mike Sellers taking over Dusty's Corner in here. And I'm going to start off with Kelvin Usher. Kevin, what were your plans for the game tonight?
Just this last week, coming off the ball, driving about 5 yards, and just doing a great job.
Okay. Jason Robbins, you had 2 interceptions last year against Lithia Springs. What are your plans this time against them?
Well, as long as we win, that don't matter. As long as we win.
All right. Moving over to Coach Cook. Coach Cook, as your second year head coach here at Newton County High, how do you think Lithia Springs match up with our offense?
Well, I think it's going to be quickness against quickness, really, because they're not a big defensive football team. They've got a couple of kids, as Coach said, that are good-sized in the middle, but they depend on quickness and speed. And, of course, as you well know, our offense depends on the same thing. So it ought to be quickness against quickness, and we hope we're a little quicker and hope we're a little tougher.
Okay, Coach, I have another question for you. Kevin wanted me to ask you this. Will we be playing any defense tonight?
I certainly hope so, and we'll play better defense if we'll not turn the ball over and kick it down to the other end and let them have to go about 80 yards with it.
All right. Moving on to offensive coordinator Al Dunkling. Coach Dunkling, how do you think that quarterback did last week?
I think Mike Sellers had a pretty good football game, 103 yards rushing on about 13 carries, and it ought to be a vast improvement between last week and this week.
I think so too. And what about Kelvin Usher, the big offensive lineman? How do you think he did last week?
Well, Kevin had a great football game last week, probably best in his career. Did a great job getting downfield, making downfield blocks, and I just hope he has a better game tonight.
And yes, Jason Robbins wanted me to ask you this question: will you throw him a pass this week?
Well, if I know Jason's in there, we might throw him one just to keep him happy. But the question is, Jason, are you going to catch it?
All right, moving on back to Kevin. I have one question for Kevin. Kevin, tonight on the ball game, call my name twice on every play I do. Twice.
Now, why should I call your name twice on every play?
Because, for recognition.
How about if we call it twice every play like this? Mike Sellers dropping back, Mike Sellers touchdown. How's that? Every play. No? Yeah?
Call the offensive line name out tonight.
Okay.
Get an offensive line recognition tonight.
Very good. We'll do it. Mike Sellers replacing Dusty Rhodes and doing a fine job, and many thanks to Coach Cook, who evaded the question of the hour, and also Coach Dunkling and Lowell Williamson here, along with Paul Daly, also Kelvin Usher and Jason Robbins and Mike Sellers from the Newton County football team. Stay tuned to WGFS for the birthday show coming up for you before 8 o'clock, and also stay tuned tonight for Rams football. They'll be taking on the Lithia Springs Lions. It's the home opener. Come on out to the new and improved Sharp Stadium, or listen to the game live here on your sports leader, WGFS AM 1430. Back to you, Holly.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. What a great show. Hopefully, we will have a lot to celebrate football-wise tomorrow, so stay tuned for this evening's game against Lithia Springs.
That evens out sometimes if you just are aware of it and work at it. But we don't want to make our kids feel like that, hey, they can't be reckless and can't really try to get extra yardage and the things that sometimes fumbles come from. We just want to secure the ball and do that first and then do everything else after.
Well, Coach, this Ram offense looks like they can move the ball down the field when they're on with just about anybody with that running game. I want to thank you for dropping by, and best of luck tonight against Lithia Springs.
Thank you. Maybe a little luck's what we need.
That's Newton County Ram football coach Jack Cook, and we'll be back with the Region Roundup for you right after this.
It's time for a taming of the Mustangs. Join WGFS AM 1430 as we cover the Newton County Rams' third game of the season against the Meadow Creek Mustangs at Berkmar High School Stadium. Pre-game coverage starts at 7 o'clock. The game starts at 7:30 as the Rams go for a winning record. Newton County Ram football on WGFS AM 1430 is brought to you proudly by East Metro Cellular, Courtesy Ford, the Family Health Food Store, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Rhodes Printing, Bulldog Tire, Ludy's Sports Shop, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store in downtown Covington, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Covington Cable TV, City of Covington Public Utilities, Home Video, Mayfield Ace Hardware, and City Pharmacy. Again, it's the Rams and the Meadow Creek Mustangs, different day, same time, Saturday, beginning with the tailgate show at 7 o'clock here on your sports station, WGFS AM 1430.
We are back on the tailgate show. Good Saturday evening. Covington, Kevin Holden here with you, and I'm talking with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook about last week's game in which Newton County defeated Lithia Springs in its home opener 20-3. And Coach, we'll first start by talking about the defense. A stellar performance, especially from Jason Robbins and a couple other good folks along that defensive line.
Well, we did improve defensively, and we played the run extremely well, except for one play. And we improved our pass defense. We gave up some big pass plays, but it was a couple of them in the middle of the field that ended up not killing us. But we still need to improve in that area, and a couple of them were passes that we probably should have put more pressure on the quarterback. But overall, I thought our defense played extremely well. They held up after a turnover and held them to a field goal, and they held them to no points on any drives. So when we can hold somebody at 3 points, we feel like we've done a pretty good job.
Well, that defense really picked it up in the home opener, and the return of Adrian Carr helped out on the offense, too. First play from scrimmage, 66 yards and a touchdown. Was that plan going to Carr in the first play?
Oh, yeah. We drew it up on the board just that way. It's a real nice way to start the season for Adrian. And, of course, he had a big block on Mike's touchdown run, too, so he had a big hand. And Cordell had some big runs and almost broke a couple of punt returns. And so the guys are cranking it up a little bit. I thought at the end of the game, I was real proud. At the end of the game, we kept the ball for the last 4 minutes and ran nothing but our fullbacks and ran inside the tackles, and they knocked them off the ball pretty well there. So we did some things better and secured the football a whole lot better. We still had too many balls rolled around on the ground, but we got a couple of them last week instead of the other team. But we want to continue to improve there, but we're thrilled with the way the kids played, and we did have a lot of improvement from the first ball game.
Now, after your first 2 games of the year, are there any major surprises, people who have performed better than expected?
Well, not really, because we felt like, we were going to be improved, and we're just thrilled with everybody's development so far. We're pleased with Drew Denman's development at center. We didn't know whether Drew would be our center early, but he is. He's a 10th grader, and he's playing really well for a 10th grade guy that's coming in, just replacing a guy that's been there for 3 years, and we think he'll be there 3 years. So we tickle him. A lot of other young kids. Rico Williams is playing well at linebacker. He's a 10th grader. And, all our older guys that played last year are beginning to come around now, and we're just Lamar Hips had a really good game, and Lamar's back after a year away. So we had some big pluses last week on things that weren't as plusy the first week, and we expect the guys to continue to improve. We're a young team, and we expect to improve every week.
And Newton County picks up the 20-3 victory last week over Lithia Springs. We'll be back in just a minute to talk about the upcoming game against Meadow Creek with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back on the Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden, Newton County head football coach Jack Cook here with me, and we're talking now about the game against Meadow Creek coming up tonight. And Coach, what have you seen from Meadow Creek? Of course, they've only played 1 game this year, an 8-0 victory over Berkmar.
Well, we saw a really fine defensive football team. They shut Berkmar down pretty well the whole ball game and didn't allow them to score any points. So when you do that, you play good defense. But they've got 6 starters back on defense and 3 or 4 more that played a lot. And they're a strong defensive football team. They have real good linebackers, defensive ends, and they play really good defense. And offensively, they're trying to, I think, kind of rebuild on offense because they lost a really fine quarterback and big, strong fullback. And so they're a different type offensive team, but they're going to be a team that's had 2 weeks to prepare for us. So I'm sure they'll be better and much improved over their first ball game.
And what about Newton County? What are we going to be looking for, the keys for the Rams to win this game?
Well, I think we've got to continue not to turn the ball over, and we've got to try to establish the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and not let them dominate there. And if we do that with the skilled folks that we have, we think we've got a chance to either have sustained drives or have a big play or two that could be some good things happen for us. But we've got to control the ball game from up front.
And Coach, Newton County went to the air more last week against Lithia Springs. Some big plays from Michael Sellers to Patrick Warren. Any other plans to go to the air this week?
Well, really, we want to try to take what they give us defensively. If they crowd the line of scrimmage and put 10 or 11 folks up there and stop the wishbone, we're going to have to throw and get better at throwing. We're working very hard every week to try to improve our passing capability. We've got all new people there involved in it, and we feel like we have some guys that if they continue to work, the passing game will work and get better. But really, we're going to try to establish the run totally, and then if they give us an opportunity to hurt them passing, then that's what we're going to do. But we've really got to make the running game go for the passing game to be effective, or really for us to be an effective offensive football team.
Well, the Rams have their running game at Berkmar High School Stadium. Coach, thanks very much for dropping by with me, and best of luck tonight.
Thank you. We need some.
That's Ram head football coach Jack Cook. Holly Robbins and I will have your region roundup coming up right after this. This game will be one to remember. Tune in this Friday to your sports leader, WGFS AM 1430, for live coverage of Newton County High School's homecoming 1993. The Rams will take on the 3-0 Walton Raiders and try to even their own record at 2-2. And WGFS's sports team will be there for all the festivities. Newton County Rams football action on WGFS is brought to you by these fine sponsors: East Metro Cellular, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store, City Pharmacy, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Covington Cable TV, Mayfield Ace Hardware, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, the Family Health Food Store, Ludy's Sports Shop, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, the City of Covington Public Utilities, Courtesy Ford, Bulldog Tire, Home Video, and Rhodes Printing. Again, it's the Rams and the Walton Raiders homecoming at Homer Sharp Stadium, and it will be broadcast live here on your station for Ram Sports, WGFS AM 1430.
We are back on the homecoming edition of your Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here, and I'm talking with Newton County football coach Jack Cook about last week's game against the Meadow Creek Mustangs. Coach, a 21-7 loss to the Mustangs, and Jimmy Bird, their running back, quite a tough runner.
Well, he was not a very big young man, but he did run very hard, and he had the one really big play they had in the running game, 60-something yards, and set up their first touchdown, and he ran hard all night. He ran by us a couple of times inside and made that big run. And what impressed us about him is he just ran so hard. He ran hard every play. And, their defense played hard every down and ran the football well. And you got to give them a lot of credit. They seem to, well, there's no doubt they played better than we did, and there's no need to give excuses. I'm going to give them credit. Their coaching staff did a good job, and their kids did a great job. And especially the way they played defense there, shutting down our offense. They just ran the football and kind of executed their defense better than we did our offense, and pretty much the whole ball game. We had our chances. Our defense played hard and made some mistakes. Made them make some mistakes, and we had a big break in the kicking game. Two big breaks in the kicking game. They fumbled a punt, and we got a touchdown off of that, and then we blocked the punt and didn't score off of that. So the game could have gone either way. Had we executed on offense, I think we would have been much better off. I thought we played well enough, with the exception of 2 or 3 plays, to win on defense and the kicking game this past week. But we just did not execute our offense. And there's no excuses. We're in a high-risk offense. We're working and trying to make it better. And I think when we get it down, we're going to be decent. We're just going to be patient, hang with it, work harder, and try to eliminate our mistakes, because I think it's more us than it is the other team as far as our execution is concerned. Now, they played hard, both groups did. Our kids played hard, but just nothing seemed to happen in our favor on offense. So we're going to give Meadow Creek full credit. They beat us, and it was a hard-fought game, and they made the plays, and we didn't. And what we've got to do is try to learn from our mistakes and go forward. And of course, it doesn't get any easier for us because we play an undefeated team that's scoring about 30 points a game, and then we've got 6 straight region games that get tougher every week. So we've got an uphill battle, but we're going to scratch the claw and try to get better and try to get something done in a positive way.
Now, Coach, this Meadow Creek defense showed some very good things in this game. How would you rate this team defensively in terms of the past teams we've seen and the teams in the region?
Well, I think Meadow Creek's probably quicker on defense than most other people will see. They're not a big, strong defense team. They're very quick. And I think they'll stack up against most of the teams in our region. They're going to be a surprise team maybe over on the other side before the year's out if they continue to get better offensively. They've got the potential to beat some people on the other side. And I think they'll stack up well defensively against most of the teams that we'll have to play. I certainly hope so.
And on our side of the football, who do you think had the best games?
Well, I think Marcelo Maines had a good game. He had a block punt. He had another almost block punt. He made some plays inside and threw him for about 3 times. He threw him for losses, and he played very well on defense. And I think all our defensive people played well, especially early in the game. We played well, and then late in the game we were just trying to tackle the ball, rip it out, do whatever. And, they got a touchdown at the end, but we're not really playing on mistake, and they got another touchdown off the mistake. But overall, I thought our defense played real good, and Marcellin especially. Offensively, we didn't play well. It wasn't like an effort. It was just we'd go out there and have blocking and fall down. We'd go out there and not read the defense correctly, or we'd miss one assignment. And it was one of those things where all the wheels were not turning in the same direction. And so really we struggled all night long offensively with the exception of our touchdown. But I thought Cordell and Adrian and Mike all ran hard and tried hard. It just our offense as a general rule just did not hit on all the cylinders, and that makes it look like you're not very good.
Well, Newton County picks up in this game a 21-7 loss, and they move to 1-2 on the season. They'll be looking to even their record tonight, and I'll be back to talk with Coach Cook about this game against the Walton Raiders. It's homecoming for the Newton County Rams here at Homer Sharp Stadium, and we'll be back with more right after this. And we are back on the Newton Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden talking with Coach Jack Cook of the Newton County Rams, and we're talking about tonight's homecoming game against the Walton Raiders. It'll be a tough homecoming game against Walton, a team that's 3-0, but a very exciting time here in Newton County. You can really feel the emotion. And how do you think this school has gotten behind the team?
Well, I think we've had really good crowds at both our away games, and our people seem to be enthusiastic about our football team. And I just hope that all our people coming back and the people who've been following us will have a little patience. And we're going to try to preach patience and perseverance to the coaches and the players and everybody. And we're gonna get this thing going, and I hope we do it tonight. But it's gonna come, and we're gonna get better. And we've got a young football team, and there's a lot of them have had to play some, but they're still young, and they're gonna get better as the year goes on and as the years go on. So we're very confident that we'll be a better team this week than we were last week, and hopefully we'll continue to improve. That's what we're striving to do. But our support's been great, and we hope that our student body and our alumni and the people that come to homecoming will see a good ball game and continue to support our kids. It's been gratifying at the support we have had, and we want that to continue to grow and get better. And we want to play better. We feel like we've got an uphill battle the next 7 weeks. Really, we could win any game we play, or we could also not win every game we play. It's going to be down to really who executes the best that night. But I think we're stacked up pretty equal against a lot of people if we play with. And that includes tonight. Even though our record's 1-2 and they're 3-0, I think we can still match up to them in some ways. And if we play hard and consistent, I think we've got a chance to win a football game. They've probably got the best offensive team that we might play against, maybe all the way down to maybe South Gwinnett at the end of the season. And that's not to say that the other people we play are not good offensively. These folks just do so many things. And they do a lot of things similar to South Gwinnett. They run the wing tee, and they do the throwing out of it and running in the misdirection and the power. And they do all the things that a good offense does with football. And they're riding high right now, averaging 30-something points a game, and a lot of confidence. They came from behind in one ball game last week and beat a good Lovejoy team. And so we've got our hands full. We feel like what we've got to do is execute offensively and keep football away from these people. If we can do that, we really feel good about our chances because we think we've got a good plan offensively and defensively. And the key is going to be to control the clock and keep the football and score some points and take some pressure off the defense. But, it's awful hard to stop a team like them on a consistent basis when they've got what they've got as far as their confidence and ability to score. So what we've got to do, we feel like, is not turn the ball over, control the clock, and put some points on the board and take a little pressure off. And hopefully, if we do those things, it'll be an exciting game and we can find a way to win.
This homecoming game, of course, very emotional. And Newton County played a great game with Walton last year, coming out on top by 2 points in the end. And as a head coach, how do you use that extra emotion that a team has for their homecoming game?
Well, I think you just it's the seniors' week. That's their last homecoming, and they've talked this week about never winning a homecoming game, and they want to very badly. And we could have won last year with Shiloh and didn't, and we feel like our seniors deserve a chance to go out here winners on their homecoming, and that's part of it. But we don't really use it. We just try to focus on the game and do the best we can. And we tell them, homecoming's nice with all the parades and pep rallies and everything else, but it's only going to be nice for us if we win a football game. And so that's what we're trying to do, just concentrate on the game. And enjoy the other festivities and enjoy the people coming back to visit, but try to do our show the way it ought to be done.
Now, Coach, you mentioned before about the Walton High School team and their misdirection and so on and so forth. Does playing last week against a team that runs some misdirection, will that help the Rams out this week?
Well, I certainly hope it will. We've played already 2 misdirection-type football teams. Lithia Springs runs the wing tee, and so does Meadow Creek, and now Walton, and then we'll play down the road. Rockdale runs it, and South Gwinnett runs it, and other people put a little of it in here and there. And so it's a very popular offense, and it's very hard to stop. But I think playing against the 3rd straight week can't do anything but help. Of course, they do some different things out of it, but I really believe in our kids and our coaches playing, and I think I hope we'll continue to improve and get better, and we need to. And I think if we play well, we've got a chance to slow them down. But here again, I think we've got to score points, keep the ball.
Well, Coach, thanks very much for dropping by, and best of luck tonight against Walton.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Kevin.
And we'll be back with the Region Roundup on your Ram Tailgate Show right after this here on WGFS AM 1430.
Starting now, the battle is for real. Join WGFS AM 1430 sports team as we cheer on the Newton County Rams in their region opener against the 3-1 Shiloh Generals this Friday at South Gwinnett High School in Snellville. After last week's homecoming victory, the Rams have lots of momentum heading into the wild Region 8 Quad A South. Covington sports leader WGFS will be there providing live coverage of the entire sub-region schedule. Ram football on WGFS is presented by Ludy Sports Shop, the City of Covington Public Utilities, Rhodes Printing, Covington Cable TV, East Metro Cellular, City Pharmacy, Mayfield Ace Hardware, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Bulldog Tire, Home Video, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store, Courtesy Ford, and the Family Health Food Store. Be sure to join Kevin Holden and Paul Daly this Friday for live coverage of the Rams and the Shiloh Generals on WGFS.
And we're back on the Tailgate Show here on WGFS AM 1430. Kevin Holden here with you, and I am here with Jack Cook, the head football coach at Newton County High School. And we're all very happy folks here in Newton County after a 28-6 victory over Walton, which can be characterized by one word: special.
Well, I think so. Not by actually how we played, but by coming up off the ground after having a dismal loss the week before and coming in with an undefeated football team and homecoming. It was special, and our kids responded very positively. We feel like we've been capable of playing at the level that we played last week, but we haven't done it, and I'm glad to see that we did do it, and I hope we'll keep it up.
Well, we were dominating on offense and defense at particular times throughout the game, but especially on defense, led by Rico Williams, who had a great game. Your thoughts about the defense?
Well, I thought our defense totally controlled the line of scrimmage, and we put pressure on the passer really for the first time very effectively. And I think that was the key to the ball game. We had good coverage, and we worked very hard on correcting some mistakes in the coverages that we'd had in the first couple of games. And I thought they completed the passes first of the game. That was something that caught us a little bit by surprise. And at the end of the game, he made a real perfect throw after we broke containment. And other than that, their passing game was very limited, which they had. And then they have, Walton has a good passing game. They've been averaging 200 yards a game and 2 touchdowns a game. And I thought our kids did a great job. Coach Bantone, defensive coaches had a good plan, and the kids executed it really well. And we got a little physical up front, too, that we haven't been doing quite as well. But overall, I thought we played outstanding on defense in every phase of the ball.
And as far as offense is concerned, the reestablishment of the running game, 263 total yards on the ground, including Adrian Carr, 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's great to see that running game reestablished. Really helps you out, doesn't it?
Well, that's what we're basing our whole offense on. If we're going to be an option team, we've got to run the option and execute it. And we hadn't been doing that. And this week, we did execute the option really probably as well as first half as well as I've ever had a team execute. Toss sweep and the counter went because the option went, and the passing game's going to go if the option goes. So the whole thing's depended upon how well we execute the option play.
And we've seen the defense dominate at home now in 2 games. They have allowed 9 points at home in those 2 games, and on the road 58 points in 2 games. Any reason for that, or just the quality of the opponents, perhaps?
Well, I think probably so, and then we've had so many turnovers in the first ball game, you can't really attribute that back to the defense. And then really, we had a turnover that set up Meadow Creek with a touchdown, and then they had one to end the game that you really don't count because we're grabbing the football, trying to get it out and get the ball back. So really, our defense, with the exception of some big plays against Heritage and one big long run and another big pass against Meadow Creek, they've played pretty well all year. We feel like we've got to do that on a consistent basis, and when we do, I think we'll be really a good football team. And the same goes for the offensive side of the ball. We've proved that we can do it, and we have done it on occasion, but when we eliminate turnovers and execute the option, we have a decent football team, and that's what we've got to try to get to try to perfect and keep building on, and then do the other things off of that as the need arises. And if we do that, we should be a factor every week we play.
The Rams are improving week to week. Last week, a 28-6 victory over a previously unbeaten Walton team, and we'll be back to talk about tonight's game, the sub-region opener against the Shiloh Generals, right after this. You're listening to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back on the Newton Ram Tailgate Show talking with Coach Jack Cook of the Newton County Rams. And, Coach, from a head coach's standpoint, how would you preview Sub-Region 8 Quad A South tonight being the region opener against the Generals?
Well, the whole region, it seems to me, from looking at folks play and listening to our scouts that have been out watching everyone, our side of the region is, I think, whoever reaches out and plays well to grab. I don't think there's any dominating teams in it. I think South Gwinnett has a very fine team. Brookwood has a very fine team. I think Clark Central is going to be the perennial power as usual. They're playing, you look at the top 10 teams in the state, and they played 4 of them in the first 4 and 0-4, but I don't get really excited about that because I know they're still going to be tough. They're young. They're not the seasoned veteran team that they had last year, but they're still going to be probably the most physical team that you'll have to play in the region. I think Shiloh could be right in the middle of it. They're 3-1 and playing real well, and they're always sound. Coach Jordan does a great job. I hope that we're good enough. We'll know in a few weeks, but I hope we're good enough to play with anybody. I don't know that, but I'd like to believe that if we execute and really play with our heart, that we can be as good as anybody on a given night, and I hope we can do that 6 weeks in a row. But it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be one of those things in our side that anybody could beat anybody.
And we really sense that the Rams team is on the verge of doing something just great in the sub-region based on last week and the past couple of weeks in terms of offense especially. Do you sense an increase in intensity as we head into the sub-region schedule?
Well, I'm more intense. I hope the kids are. I know our coaches are excited, and we feel like if our young people play to their capability and really mature and concentrate and do the things that they're capable of doing, we think we'll be a factor. But it's up to a bunch of young kids. We've got 20 juniors and 24 sophomores and 11 seniors and 3 freshmen. So we're still a young team, and we're still maturing, I hope. And I hope we'll be a team if we struggle and win and just try to get better every week. We should improve. We should be a team that improves. But that goes week to week. Of course, you got injury factors to figure, and we've already lost 3, one for the season, and 2 other big guys that will be out 2 to 3 weeks. So we're not in real good shape there, and that always hurts because with the depth situation that we have, and other people having 90 players and us having 50, it makes a difference. So we're just hoping to be lucky on the injuries and be lucky with a couple of bounces and then play well.
Let's talk about tonight's opponent, the Shiloh Generals. They've got 2 offensive weapons, one the receiver, Kevin Stewart, and one their tailback, Steve Ivey. Any special plans on how to stop these 2 folks?
Well, we've just got to try to play sound defense and keep football away from them. Of course, they're very basic, too. They're a predominantly running football team. They've got a good receiver that they had a good drive coming back from behind last week and scored. I think this guy caught 5 passes in the last drive, 4 of them, and then a little Sanders kid that they have at wide out too caught a big touchdown against Parkview for about 60, 70 yards. So they've got some weapons. Ivy's a sound veteran at quarterback and tailback. He plays both places. And Coach is working a young kid in at quarterback, number 7, young athlete, and then Lester to play, he can play fullback or tailback. So they've got fine athletes at those skill positions, plus the receiver that you mentioned. And so, they're going to be hard. And they've also got a veteran offensive line. They've got, I think, 8 starters back on offense from last year. So they know what to do, and they're going to come at you and be real physical. If you stop that, then they've got the passing game better than I think they've been in several years. Defensively, they're going to scrap, get after you. They play the 8-man front, and they're going to have linebackers that run, big guys that jump around, and they're going to be excited about hitting you. And that's just a typical Shiloh team with Charlie Jordan kind of calling the shots. He's a sound football coach from old school, and they get after it. So I'm sure they'll get after us. It'll be the first game.
What area would you like the Rams to improve the most this week?
Well, I think we've got to improve our kicking game still. I think we've got to field punts and return them and get yardage there. I think we've got to catch kickoffs and block better on kickoffs and get better field position there. And we've got to cover kickoffs better. We've done a poor job, for the most part, covering kickoffs, giving folks good field position when they return kicks. And, of course, I hope we kick off a lot. But I don't really want them coming on our side of the 50 when they get through with it. So I think there's where we've got to improve a whole lot. And then we've got to maintain our consistency on offense and defense.
And what about the Rams offense going against that Shiloh defense? Do you expect the good running game to continue?
Well, I hope it will. That's what we've got to bank on. That's what we're building our whole football team on there is our ability to run the option. And I think if we don't do that, we'll be in trouble. If we do, we can be ready to hurt anybody.
Well, Coach, thanks for dropping by, and best of luck tonight against the Generals.
Thank you. We'll need some.
The Rams and the Generals coming up in just a couple of minutes. We'll have your region roundup coming up for you right after this.
The Rams are ready to buck the Broncos. Join WGFS AM 1430 as we provide live play-by-play coverage of the Newton County Rams home game against the Brookwood Broncos from Homer Sharp Stadium this Friday. The Rams are unbeaten at home, and the Brookwood Broncos come in with a record of 3-2 on the 1993 season. Football coverage on WGFS AM 1430 is presented by Ludi Sports Shop, the City of Covington Public Utilities, Rhodes Printing, Covington Cable TV, East Metro Cellular, City Pharmacy, Mayfield Ace Hardware, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Bulldog Tire, Home Video, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store in downtown Covington, Courtesy Ford, and the Family Health Food Store. Join WGFS as we provide coverage of the Rams and the Broncos. Paul Daly and Holly Robbins here on your sports leader, WGFS. We are back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden with you. Good Friday evening to you, Covington. I'm here with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook, and we are talking about the game between the Rams and the Shiloh Generals last week. Coach, what do you think was the Rams' strongest point and conversely their weakest point in last week's game against Shiloh?
Well, I think one of our strongest points is that our kids didn't give up. We got down 14-0, and we came back in the second quarter, scored 2 touchdowns, and had a chance to tie the ball game, and was down 14-12 at the half. Came back and controlled the third quarter, and at the end of the third quarter, had a chance to go ahead, and did go ahead for a few seconds in the ball game. I think once we made the decision to take the penalty and get a 1st and goal, of course, a big turning point had to be with us turning the ball over and not getting the touchdown and the extra point. And it really was pivotal in the football game. Of course, we'd probably make that same decision again. Our kids had been in the end zone twice in the second quarter. You know, a lot of people say, well, you don't ever take points off the board, but you got a chance to go up by 6 points if you execute, and 6 points it takes a touchdown and an extra point to beat you. And you go up by 1 with a field goal can beat you by 2. So what we felt that our kids had been moving the football. We got confidence in their ability, and you don't draw up on the board or think about the negative. You think about the positive, and it didn't happen that way. But we'd do the same thing again, and hopefully this time we'd get the points and get a 6-point lead and go on about our business. But that was a pivotal point in the game, no doubt. I think we probably also did not tackle as well as we could on some plays. They had 3 long plays that we probably should have made the play for a normal gain of 5 or 6 yards, and we missed some tackles, and they got big plays on it. So you take that away, and that was 3 plays. It was a 75-yard touchdown run, a little short pass. It ended up being a 42-yard gain, and another run by the quarterback of about 40 yards that we just didn't execute on defense. And other than that, I thought our kids played very hard. Both sides of the ball. Our kicking game was a plus for us, with the exception of the missed extra point, failed extra point attempt. So we made some improvement in some ways. We still made big plays. We had one good drive where we moved the football. I thought the second quarter we dominated the game, and the third quarter. But unfortunately, in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, we did not. And early in the game, we had a chance to go up real quick with a mistake that they made, and we didn't take advantage of that, and they blocked the field goal and got good field position back. And I think that was a pivotal point in the game at that time. So those are things that we've still got to improve on. But I thought our kids played very hard, and they didn't give up. And as long as they do that, sometimes something good's going to happen, So we're still waiting for that to happen, but we're going to keep, I hope, playing hard until it does.
Newton County picked up the 8-point loss in this game, 28-20. They were taking on the Shiloh Generals in the homecoming. Of course, Newton County had that homecoming victory in Week 4 over Walton. Do you think that the fact that it was Shiloh's homecoming, was that a factor in favor of the Generals?
Well, I think anytime you play at home, anytime it's a region game, those factors are probably more important than homecoming. But homecoming is a plus. You want to win your homecoming game. All seniors do anyway, and I think it probably had some plus effect on them, but I think it being a home game and a region game was probably more important than that. And of course, Shiloh's had a good program for 3 or 4 years with Coach Jordan, and they've got a good football team. They're gonna beat some more folks for us over.
Coach Steve Ivey, the tailback and quarterback for the Generals, had an excellent game, but the Ram defense, especially in the second and third quarter, when they really picked it up on defense, had the opportunity to stop Ivey on a lot of different plays. I wanted to get your assessment of your defensive performance in the game, especially James Jackson, who had an excellent game on defense.
Well, James is a young guy that we feel like will be a good defensive football player before he graduates. He's just young, and we're having to play some young folks due to injuries, some situations that we've got. And James did play well. I think overall our defense played well except for those 3 plays. We had those 3 breakdown plays, and other than that, they pretty much controlled their ball club on a consistent basis. But now here again, Ivy had an outstanding game because he's an outstanding football player. Lester's a good blocker, and the young quarterback Hopkins is a good football player. So. And their line came off the ball and blocked well. They're a solid football team. They're not fancy, and they don't have I think they're a lot like we are. They don't have any superstars, really. They've just got 3 or 4 good football players and a bunch of others that play hard. And I think everybody in the region, I think, is very similar. I think, Brookwood is, I think they're very similar to Shiloh. I think Rockdale has 3 or 4 outstanding athletes just like everybody else does, and I think our sub-region is going to be whoever plays well the most times in these last 6 games, because anybody can beat anybody. I've said that the whole time. There's no dominant team in this region. There's one that may end up looking like a dominant team because they play well every week, but as far as talent and ability and this type of thing and size, all those factors, experience, nobody has the real upper hand over on anybody else. It's who plays well that week.
And the Rams looking to be a surpriser in Region 8 Quad A South, looking to even their sub-region record and their season record against the Brookwood Broncos tonight. And we'll be back to talk about that game right after this. You're listening to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. And we are back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Good football Friday evening to you. Kevin Holden here with Jack Cook, the head coach of the Newton County Rams, and coach tonight's game against the Brookwood Broncos. Brookwood has a very high-powered offense. Do you think this is the biggest test of the year defensively for Newton County?
Well, I think so, because of their success in the past and their program that they've had over the years. They're a team that has the good weightlifting program and the good off-season training program, and they play a tough schedule, and they don't shy back from playing the good teams, and they've competed with them, and anytime you do that, you're going to be a pretty solid football team. They've just got an outstanding program right now. Coach Hunter and his staff do a good job, and their kids play hard, and they're a very disciplined football team. We're impressed with that. They're well coached, well disciplined, and they depend on the other team and try to make the other team make a mistake or two to give them a momentum. And they're kind of like vultures. When you lay something down, they're gonna pick it up, And so we know we're facing a tough task there. Their offense is very good offensive team. They come off and just like Tommy said, we know what to expect from them. They're going to run Townsend right at you. They're going to take the lead draw and run it at you, and the outside hard dive and run at you, and the counter tray and run at you, and they're going to just pound and pound and pound and pound. And then when you lull to sleep with that, then they're going to run the tight end reverse, or the bootleg pass, or the pop pass to the big tight end, or some other type play to try to get a big play on you. And you just got to play the whole field and play hard every down and try to put them in third down situations where they have to throw.
Well, Mark Townsend is the leader of this Brookwood offense, very high-powered offense. I wanted you to do a little comparing here. From what you've seen of Mark Townsend on tape, sort of compared to Steve Ivey, who was an excellent runner last week against the Shiloh game. You had a chance to watch him live. What do these two folks have in common?
Well, they have in common that they play behind good offensive lines and on good football teams that have been successful. But they're totally two different backs. Townsend's a big, strong kid that runs at you, and Ivy is a kind of a shifty guy that's got pretty good speed. He doesn't try to run over you as much. He tries to make you miss and then outrun you. And Townsend, he hunts you up to run over you. He don't want you to miss him. He wants you to take the punishment that he feels like he's going to dish out to the defense. So they're two different folks, but they play for good football teams that are used to winning.
Now, in terms of penalty yards, something that Newton County has been very good at this year, keeping the penalties down. Usually the opponent racks up a lot more penalty yards in Newton County. This happens just about every game. Are you impressed with the discipline as far as those penalty yards are concerned?
Our kids have responded real well to that. I don't think we've had a single unsportsmanlike 15-yard penalty. We had maybe one face mask, but I'm not even sure we had that. We may have had it early in the year. But those are things that we stress because it beats you. It's a lack of discipline, and it hurts you, and our kids have responded well to that. What we've had lately is we've had penalties that I call hustle-type penalties, where you're trying to make a block and get in front, and you may have a hand out. We've had some holding calls and clipping calls that could have gone either way, and sometimes you're going to get them called, sometimes you're not, but they're not, I don't call them cheap penalties where you're trying to come in there late and frustrated and that type of thing. We haven't had those, and we haven't had a lot of jumping type penalties either, and that's something big thing. I think kids have really improved in that area as far as being disciplined off football on both sides of the ball, and I hope that'll continue. I hope we'll get good, and I hope we'll be, like you said, I hope we'll be stingy and be Scrooges tonight, because we don't need to give these folks anything. If we don't give them anything, then it's going to be a fine football game, because I think we're very equal as far as two good football teams trying to play each other. The one that's going to win is going to be the one that executes what they do best and does not make the mistakes of which penalties are part of.
Now, the Rams should have a little bit of extra confidence going into tonight's game because the game is at home and the Rams are undefeated at home this year. What's the extra confidence, and how important is it for the Rams to have this game at home?
Well, I think it's very important. Anytime you go to Brookwood, you're going to have their crowd and their atmosphere to deal with, which is always ripping and snorting, and they back their kids tremendous. I have nothing but respect for what their community's done. They built a stadium. It's probably $1 million stadium. Built it with private funds, and they raised money. They've got a good little league program. They've got a good young kid program over there. And their community is a very affluent community, but it's also a very active community in supporting their football team and their school. And, you know, I'd rather play here. We don't need all that. We need our folks here and get them a little diluted, you know, because when they play over there, they act, you know, they just act like they own the place, which they do, you know. But no, I'd rather play them here anytime than I had to go over there.
What's the number one thing that the Rams are going to have to do to pick up a victory tonight?
Well, I think, you know, you get tired of hearing it, but I think what we're trying to do, what we're trying to teach, we're trying to teach a disciplined offense that is a high-risk offense, but yet it's a very disciplined offense in the fact that if you execute what the defense gives you, then you should keep the ball, move the chains, and score points, and still get some big plays along in there, too, when they get undisciplined on defense. So I think it's boiled down to, can we keep the football, be disciplined enough not to fumble it, be disciplined enough to score points and move the chains and keep our defense off the field some, and not let them have it to do what they want to do, which is the exact same thing we want to do.
It'll be the battle for ball control tonight. The Rams against the Brookwood Broncos. Coach, thanks very much for taking time out here with me, and best of luck tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Paul Daly and Holly Robbins getting their vocal cords warmed up. They'll be having your region roundup followed by play-by-play action right after this on the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430.
Newton County Rams football is now in full swing. The sports team of WGFS AM 1430 has been there for every game this year, and we will be there again this Friday as the Rams travel to Conyers to take on the Rockdale Bulldogs at Reed Stadium. The Rams and Bulldogs play this Friday night, beginning with the tailgate show at 7 o'clock. Your sponsors for Rams football on WGFS are as follow: East Metro Cellular, Home Video, the Family Health Food Store, Bulldog Tire, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Mayfield Ace Hardware, Courtesy Ford, Ludy Sports Shop, Rhodes Printing, the City of Covington Public Utilities, City Pharmacy, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Covington Cable TV, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, and Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store. Join Paul Daly and myself, Kevin Holden, as we continue our coverage of Ram football this Friday. Tailgate show at 7 o'clock. Live Ram Tough action at 7:30 on your sports leader, WGFS.
And welcome back to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show on this football Friday evening. Kevin Holden here with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook, and we are talking about last week's game, a 14-0 home loss to the Brookwood Broncos, and coach, the defense only allowing 2 touchdowns to a high-powered offensive team.
Well, we feel like we played about as well as we could on defense. We feel like, of course, you can look at tapes and say what if any week, but we feel like if we had made one more play on defense, it would have been a 0-0 ball game going in the fourth quarter. And if we had had the good fortune to get one turnover that we felt we should have gotten, then it would have possibly been a score on our part, and it could have been reversed. But it wasn't to be, and they scored on 3rd and 14 on a big pass play, and went up 7-0. We had opportunities. We played it real close to the vest and weren't moving the ball good. And we had got a kicking duel with them, and of course they moved it a little bit better than we did, but they still didn't score except for the one time. And at the end, when they scored, we were trying to rake the ball out and all that, and they scored with a minute left. But we had our chances. We had a drive from their 15, from our 15 to about their 24, and failed to make it on 4th down. And then we got a big interception late in the 3rd quarter and had opportunity to get some points there. Two times in a row we're inside their 30, and we don't put anything on the board, and that pretty much got us down. And then they had a drive late in the game, and we're trying to rake the ball out and get one more shot, and they scored. Of course, I thought our kids played very hard. I thought they played with a good bit of discipline. We did not move the football and score the points, and that's disappointing. But our defense played hard. We were pretty disciplined in the kicking game and stayed right there with them with a chance to win, like I said, until the end of the third quarter there. But we're proud of our kids' efforts, but we're disappointed that we didn't do better as far as putting points on the board.
The Brooklyn Broncos defense has been stellar the past couple of years, and of course last year we went up there, experienced the same thing with their defense. Your thoughts about their defensive team?
Well, their defensive team is very well coached. Their whole football team is very well coached. They have, as Coach said, they've got a proud program that's been successful over a period of 6 or 7 years. They've got some strong kids that are very, as I said, very well coached, and some of their people just we just couldn't match up with a couple of them, and then we didn't help ourselves on a couple of occasions. But I give their defense credit for playing an outstanding game, as well as our defense. It was a good old-fashioned defensive, hard-knocking football game, and of course they still came out on top on the scoreboard. But here again, I was proud of the efforts that our kids put forward.
Well, Coach, we've reached the 7th week of the season, and in the interest of equal time, I was going to get you to talk a little bit about your lines on offense and defense. When we're broadcasting games, we talk about who runs the football, who makes the tackles, but the lines get overlooked so much week to week. Just wanted to get your thoughts about your team's offensive and defensive lines and who have been the key folks for you this year.
Well, we feel like that these two groups probably have come further than any groups on our football team. We started the season with very little experience on both fronts, really, and then we lost Courtney Williams, who had some experience, to a broken leg the third week of the season, and he hadn't played since and won't play. We lost Torrance Brown the fourth game homecoming to an Achilles tendon injury, and he may not play anymore the rest of the year. So that's two of the bigger guys that have played some as 10th graders. They're two juniors, and hopefully they'll be back strong their senior year. But those two guys that got hurt really hurt our depth. But our defensive front really basically has been Teddy Smith, who's a junior that played in the 9th grade and came back out this year at one defensive end. Tommy Taylor, who's a senior, has played the other defensive end primarily since Courtney went down. And on the inside, we've got Reggie Benton, a first-year senior that's played well and missed a couple of games with a rib injury. We've got Tony Kelly, who's a little short guy that does a good job as a junior, and also Marcella Baines, who's had some good games and big plays. Marcella played some last year, too. They play the defensive tackles. And then we've got a sophomore at the defensive tackle that's been playing a little bit of late, and that's Marcus England. And we're hoping that we have all our people except Tommy coming back, and if Courtney can get well, that ought to be a pretty sound crew in the future for us. Offensive line, we've had started the year with a little depth, and like I said, we've lost some of it, but we're playing with a 10th grade center that's done an outstanding job. That's Drew Denman. We've got a junior guard, Doug Paris, that played some last year, and Doug's done an outstanding job. T.J. Harper, a sophomore tackle, a big guy that we're looking for great things from in the future, is playing the left tackle as a 10th grader. And then at the right side, we've had, of course, Torrance played some over there, and Charles Bray has played. Charlie Cook has played some. He's a senior that didn't play last year but came back, and he's played as our utility guy. And then probably our most consistent lineman has been a senior that played part of the year last year and came back and really had a fine senior year, and that's Kelvin Usher.
Well, the Rams are going to be back for the most part next year on defense along that line, but we'll be talking about next week, not next year. And coming up right after this, we'll talk about the game against the Rockdale Bulldogs from Reed Stadium. You're listening to the Newton Ram Tailgate Show here on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back on the Newton Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here with Jack Cook, the head coach of football here at Newton County High School. And Coach, coming up tonight, it's the Rockdale Bulldogs, another homecoming, this one at Reed Stadium up in Conyers. Is this really a big swing game, in your opinion, for the Rams? They're coming off a tough Brookwood team last week, and they've got an end of the schedule with a Clark Central team that's been weaker, and then headed up to Berkmar. Is this a swing game and one that you'd like to get momentum in?
Well, I think it's a have-to game, just to be honest with you. To salvage a decent season, this is a win that we've got to have. I don't normally say that, but our back's to the wall. every goal that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the season is slowly dwindling away. And if we don't win this football game, it'll be impossible to reach a lot of those goals. We feel like it's a crucial game, very crucial. Rockdale defeated us on the field last year. Of course, we later got a forfeit due to them turning themselves in for clerical error or misinterpretation on eligibility for player. But we feel like that this year we've got to go over there and play our best football and win the football game. It is a swing game, but it's just a crucial game to our whole season. If we're going to play the second half like it ought to be played, we've got to win at least 3 of these last 4, and to reach all our goals, we've got to win all 4 of them. So we've got to start a string of just getting it done. We've come close, but we've got to make the plays and play with the intensity to make it happen if we're going to reach the goals that we have for ourselves. We are a young football team. We should get better still as the year goes on. If our guys put their mind to it, we can still be a good football team at the end of the season. But it's just going to take a week-to-week thing, and we've got to win some games. We've fought hard and lost 2 weeks in a row. We've just got to win this one, and like you said, get things turned around, and then we got to try to find a way to beat Clark when they come in here next week. And they're not weak, by the way. They're just down a little bit from what they were last year, but that don't make them weak. They're still pretty doggone tough. We don't have any easy ones, and this one will definitely not be easy because they've got outstanding athletes and they know how to win, and they're sitting here 3-3 and could be 4-2, 5-1 just like we could, and so it's going to be a dogfight at their homecoming. Of course, that's not unusual. Everybody for 2 years has had us at homecoming, so we've learned to expect that. That's what everybody does. If they can get Newton as their homecoming, that's what they like to do, and hopefully one day they'll not won't schedule us fast for homecoming.
Well, the Rams, one of the keys tonight for them to pick up a victory against Rockdale is to stop those folks in the Bulldogs backfield, including Mr. Shepard, among others. Any specific plans on how to stop these folks?
Well, they run the wing tee, which is really a fine offense if they execute it well. Just like any offense is a good one, but they really are hard to stop with all 3 backs and really the quarterback too carrying football. They have 3 outstanding backs. Shepard, the big power guy, fullback, does a great job. He hurt us last year, and he's a solid back. Lackey's a tremendous athlete at the halfback, and then the other kid, number 21, Everson, I believe is his name. He's a quick, hard-nosed little back, similar to the kid at Meadow Creek that ran by us, and he turns his shoulders upfield and does a good job. They've got a scrappy offensive line. It's got some quickness to it, and defensively, they've been kind of like we've been, kind of on and off at times, but they've played some good defense against some good teams. And then they've scored a lot of points. On offense, they're hard to slow down, hard to stop. But I just feel like we've got to stop everybody in the backfield. We've got to play balanced defense and really find the football, get to it, and hit the football. And we've got to tackle just about everybody because there's no telling who's going to have it. And we just need to play aggressive, and then we need to get football and keep it and score points. We've got to put some points on the board and get some confidence back in what we're doing.
And what is the most important thing that the Rams will have to improve on over last week in order to pick up a victory?
Well, we got to score some points. We got to move the football and score some points. We've got to do something offensively to keep our defense off the field and to put some points on the board and make them have to score to beat us. And I think if they got to score a lot to beat us, then we like our chances. But if you don't score any, you're not going to win. And of course, if you don't give up any, you're not going to lose. But we've got to create some points on offense, take pressure off our defense. We got to make some things happen on both sides of the ball, and jump out there and light the scoreboard up a little bit. If we do that, we'll have a chance. If we don't, then it's going to be close but no cigar. And maybe not even close. But the pressure this week lies on our offense coming through and our kicking game being sound and then making things happen.
Well, Coach, Ram Tough football action is just a couple of minutes away. Thanks for joining me, and best of luck tonight against the Bulldogs.
Thank you. Maybe we'll get some luck and be good enough to take advantage of it.
The Rams and the Bulldogs coming up in just a couple of minutes, but first we'll have your Region Roundup right after this break here on the Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430.
Attention gladiators, prepare to be slain. Join the Newton County High School Rams in their key home matchup against the Gladiators of Clark Central High. And WGFS sports team will be at Homer Sharp Stadium this Friday night with play-by-play coverage of every exciting snap. The Rams look to even their record at 4-4, while Clark Central comes in with only one win so far in 93. Exciting Newton County High School football on WGFS is brought to you by Ludi Sports Shop, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, East Metro Cellular, Rhodes Printing, Mayfield Ace Hardware, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store, Bulldog Tire, the Family Health Food Store, Courtesy Ford, City Pharmacy, Covington Cable TV, the City of Covington Public Utilities, and Home Video. Tonight's game will be one to remember. Join Paul Daly and Kevin Holden for live coverage of the Gladiators and the Rams this Friday night on WGFS AM 1430. Sports fans, tonight could be the biggest night of the year in Newton County. Join WGFS AM 1430 as our sports staff provides an insightful look into tonight's Region 8 Quad A South matchup between the Newton County Rams and the Clark Central Gladiators. The tailgate show begins tonight at 7 o'clock. Live action from Covington's Homer Sharp Stadium at 7:30. Ram football is made possible on WGFS by these fine sponsors: Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, East Metro Cellular, Mayfield Ace Hardware, the Family Health Food Store, City Pharmacy, the City of Covington Public Utilities, Home Video, Bulldog Tire, Rhodes Printing, Ludi Sports Shop, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Courtesy Ford, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, and Covington Cable TV. Come out and support the Newton County Rams as they look to slay the Gladiators tonight at Homer Sharp Stadium. Listen to live coverage of the game here on your sports leader, WGFS AM 1430.
And we're back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here with you on your Friday evening, and I'm talking with Jack Cook, the head football coach at Newton County High School. And Coach, let's talk about last week's game against the Rockdale Bulldogs. Is this that turn of events that you wanted in the 7th week, picking up the 2-touchdown victory?
Well, it certainly helps. It's just one step in the right direction, but anytime you get a win late in the year after you've struggled a couple of weeks and the kids are a little bit down mentally, it's a good pickup. And what we've got to do, though, is we've got to go one at a time and try to get a string of those things going. But no, it's a very pleasant experience after fighting for 2 weeks and losing 2 close ball games to come back and win one and then come from behind twice to do it.
And Coach, your offense you mentioned was one of the keys to the game, and they scored 5 touchdowns, including a new experiment using Jason Robbins at fullback. Your thoughts about your offense in general and about that new experiment?
Well, it wasn't really an experiment as much as it was just we had to have a big guy at fullback and for some situations that we were coming into. And Jason is a good athlete and one of the better competitors that we have, and we felt like he would help us in that situation, and he did. He got some well-gained, tough yardage inside, and of course we were missing Patrick Gaither due to a dislocated finger. He stepped in and picked up and gave us that big back that we thought we needed against Rockdale, and hopefully he'll be able to step in when needed the rest of the year. And it worked well. We did a little more formation stuff and opened the offense up a little bit. And it helped some and it hurt some, but overall we moved the ball well, kept it the second quarter, and then got a long drive at the end and then had a big play. So we mixed it up and some good things happened to us on offense. And we got 4 on the board on offense and then 1 on defense. So I want to give our defense credit for scoring that last one. But still, the offense kept the football mainly in the second quarter, and then when they came back and went back ahead of us, we took it, and I think in about three minutes or so, drove the length of the field and went ahead for good, and that's what makes you feel good because that should help our kids gain a little confidence.
And as far as the defense, that is concerned, a pretty good defensive game as well. Of course, Bernard Lackey with the big return off of the kickoff. But other than that, a very good defensive performance on a road game as well.
We feel like it was. They had the one drive there early in the fourth quarter that they just really whipped us on. We were a little tired, and they just drove it down the throat. But other than that, the big play in the kicking game, which there's no excuse for, we just didn't cover well. And, of course, Bernard's a good athlete, too, and they executed that. And then the first score they got was off of an offensive mistake, even though it wasn't a turnover. We made an offensive mistake. It lost about 15, 20 yards, and they got great field position. I think after our punt, they took it at the 27-yard line. That's a little much to ask of your defense there. So, but overall, I thought our defense played well, with the exception of the long kickoff. Our kicking game played well, and then the offense, with the exception of one series right before the half, they played well and executed well.
Now, Coach, there's a couple of new faces over the past few weeks that have been in there for the Rams, and I wanted to get you to talk about their performance so far. I'm talking about Gary Brown on defense, and we saw some of Greg Benson as well.
Well, that's two freshmen that we moved up early in the year. They were just head and shoulders above the rest of our freshman athletes. They're big, gifted athletes, and both of them are about 6'3", and Greg's a big guy at about 210, and Gary's about 175, and both of them are, like I said, are gifted athletes, and they were ready to play at this level, we felt, but we tried to work them in slow, but now both of them are playing frontline football, and we look for them to continue to improve and be good players throughout their career here.
Well, Coach, the Rams have had some new faces, and we'll be talking about a new game against the Clark Central Gladiators. Coming up right after this break, you're listening to the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show here on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show, talking with Jack Cook, the head coach of the Newton County Rams football team, about tonight's big home matchup against the Clark Central Gladiators. And, Coach, the Gladiators come in at 1-5. They've played some very, very tough teams, some of those games coming on the road, but Clark Central really better than the record shows.
I agree with you, Kevin. They're a much better team than their record indicates as far as stacking them up against us and the rest of our side of the sub-region. South Gwinnett did a lot of things well and really blew them out, but it was really a close game for a while. They got two big plays right before the half and really kind of got them down, and then the second half executed very well. So that's that game could be played 10 times, and the score I don't think would ever be that again. But they did everything well, and Clark made some mistakes. But Clark could have very easily beaten Griffin. They could have very easily beaten LaGrange. They could have very easily beaten Cedar Shoals. And all three of those teams have at one time been in the top 10. Two of them are still there. So you've got a football team here that's just young. They lost 38 seniors last year. They're just young, as we were last year and still are this year. But they know how to win, and Coach Henderson's going to work them. And they've still got tremendous athletes. They've got 5 or 6 seniors that are part of that tradition last year, and they're good football players. And they've got a lot of young kids that are going to be good football players that are just working hard like our kids are to try to get better and play against these folks. And Coach has said to his kids the fact that they've only got one loss in the sub-region, and we've got to sell ours. Look, we can't get any more losses in the sub-region, and we've got to win them one at a time. They've got to win them one at a time. And I think from what I heard come from Clark, they feel like it's going to be an even ball game, and who wants it the most and makes the least mistakes will win. And that's kind of how we look at it. We feel like that talent-wise and all that, it's going to be a pretty even ball game. They're young, we're young. They've got a few good seniors, we've got a few good seniors, and whoever plays the best is the one that's going to walk away with it. And we hope it's our kids. And if we play 4 quarters like we're capable of playing, I think we're very capable of beating a Clark Central team that's not as bad as the record indicates, but not as good as they have been.
And Clark Central, as you mentioned, a little bit more off this year. And is this a little extra incentive for Newton County after the past couple of years having some tough losses to Clark Central, of course, last year up there in Athens? This game, the Rams may see this as an opportunity at home to give a good game in front of home fans.
Well, I think the rivalry with Clark Central, of course, like somebody said one time before, to have a real rivalry, you got to win some. One team's got to win some of the games, you know. and we haven't won our share. And I think what we would like to do is get to the point where it is a rivalry, just as with Brookwood. If we stay in the same sub-region with them for years, to make it a rivalry, we've got to win our share of the games, and we want to start doing that. We've played them tough on occasion, and of course only beaten them one time. And we've got to win some ball games against Clark for it to end up being the kind of rivalry that we think it should be. And it should be. We should be in the thick of it with Clark and South and Brookwood and Shiloh every year, and Rockdale. All the folks in our side are a good program. Berkmar's got a good football team. They're not winning, but they got a good football team. They're about 2 players short of what some of the other teams have to play them, but they play very hard, and they could beat you on a given night. So here again, anybody in our sub-region this year could beat anybody else.
Coach, do you sense an increase at all in intensity among the folks here in Newton County, the team, and also the community, the fact that we're playing Clark Central at home this week?
Well, I hope I do with the kids. I haven't been able to assess anything in the community because we've been here at school all day, every day, and I just hope we have a decent crowd here, and I hope that the people come respond to really our need to have good support at home against a Clark Central team that we feel like we do have a chance to defeat. And we hope that that'll happen, but we got no way of knowing. Of course, the weather's pretty rough, but it's going to be nice, I think, by game time. And so we feel like our kids have certainly had a good week of practice, and we've been beat up and sick, but other than that, we've still gone out there every day to try to get a little better, and I feel like our young people are ready to play. I just hope they play well.
Coach, from viewing the tapes of Clark Central from earlier this year, do you find one special key to victory?
Well, I think you've got to keep the football away from Remington Kendrick. He's a tremendous athlete. They have other athletes. He's a good blocker as well as a fine runner. And the big number 42 at tailback and little number 25 at the wingback can also beat you. Their quarterback's a good athlete. So they've got a lot of offensive weapons still, good receivers. They're still got a lot of good offensive weapons that they can throw at you. They've scored some points against some good teams. And defensively, they're, like we said, they're young, but they still got good athletes. And I think the key is that we've got to light the scoreboard up, but we also got to keep football. And then when we're all on defense, we've got to gang tackle Mr. Kendrick, or we're going to be in trouble.
Well, the Rams will take on the Clark Central Gladiators in just a couple of minutes. Coach, thanks for dropping by, and best of luck tonight.
Thank you. We'll need some, and hope we'll play well and have a little luck, and maybe the outcome will be good.
Paul Daly and myself will have your region roundup coming up for you right after this on the Ram Tailgate Show. You're listening to WGFS AM 1430.
Newton County's high school football team is making a run at the playoffs, and you don't want to miss it. Join WGFS AM 1430 as we cover the Rams' next game against the Berkmar Patriots this Friday in Lilburn. The tailgate show begins at 7 o'clock. Live Ram Tough action with Kevin Holden and Paul Daly starts at 7:30. Newton County Rams football on WGFS is brought to you by Home Video, courtesy Ford, Rhodes Printing, American Insurance Agency representing Cotton States Insurance, Ludi Sports Shop, the City of Covington Public Utilities, Mayfield Ace Hardware, Patrick's Feed and Seed and Western Store, Bulldog Tire, the Family Health Food Store, Newton Federal Savings and Loan, Coast to Coast Home and Auto, East Metro Cellular, City Pharmacy, and Covington Cable TV. The Rams go for a winning record this Friday against the Berkmar Patriots beginning at 7 o'clock here on your station for Ram Sports, WGFS AM 1430.
We are back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. The Rams will be taking on the Berkmar Patriots in about 15 minutes. Hope you'll stay with us for that. Kevin Holden here with Jack Cook, the head football coach here at Newton County High School. And Coach talking about last week's game, taking on the Clark Central Gladiators, a thriller at home, overtime victory 24-23. One of the keys in this one, execution, no penalty yards, only one turnover, the interception in the first half, and one punt. How much do you think execution played in this victory?
Well, I think it played a very big part. Number one, we scored 17 points in regulation, which is a good number of points, but the more important thing, we kept the football away from Clark Central a very good bit of the night. I think we probably dominated time of possession, quite a big difference. And we had one drive that we felt like we should have gotten points where we didn't get the field goal early in the game, that we should have scored more points. We feel that we should have gotten a touchdown when we had to go for the field goal due to plays before we had to kick the field goal. But I'm sure they feel the same way about some of their plays, so that's all conjecture. But our kids executed very well. They blocked very well for each other as backs. Cordell had the big night, just as he and Adrian have shared that big nights all year long. Our fullbacks ran hard. Mike read the option well, with the exception of 2 or 3 plays, and I thought our execution was really good. And I've got to give credit to our linemen, our tight ends, and our linemen. They blocked extremely well. We held on to the football. We moved the chains. We scored points on offense, and we had to do that. And then on defense, we feel like we played about as well as we were capable of playing. We tried to not shut down because we knew we couldn't, but they've got a fine running attack. We tried to make them throw. Of course, they threw a lot better than we wanted to. But we did make them have to throw on occasion. And, of course, they did a tremendous job there, which they had not been doing early in the year. So you got to give Clark Central. I thought both teams played about as hard as they could play. It was a clean, hard-fought ball game. And we're a young team. They're a young team. We grew up a little bit. I think they played as well as they could play, too, and it boiled down to 1 or 2 plays. And this particular time, we were able to make them, and they didn't make them, and it made the difference.
Coach, over the past couple of years, since your time began here at Newton County, there have been several heart-stopping ball games. Last year at Walton and at South Gwinnett, last-second field goals to give the Rams the victory. Of course, the Clark Central game this year. One thing in common, the Rams won all these games. Is there a quality that you can point to that is enabling the Rams to come out on top in these heart-stopping games?
Oh, no, but I hope we can keep it up. Of course, we've lost our share of close ones, too. You take the Shiloh game last year, Shiloh this year. You've got Brookwood this year. The score doesn't indicate how close those games were, and they could have gone either way, too. So we weren't able to create that excitement at the end to win or tie those ball games, but we had opportunities to. And the thing that I like about this year's group, and last year's too for that matter, is the kids are playing hard. They're trying to win, and they're playing hard. They're not just rolling over for anybody, and that gives me a whole lot of satisfaction, because I know if I keep doing that, we will get good enough to win some ball games in the future that we're not winning now. But if they don't play hard, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you're just not going to get very good. And so with that aspect of it, I think playing hard is a key. If you just play hard every day and keep on keeping on, something good sooner or later is going to happen to you.
Well, playing hard resulted in a victory this time around. Cordell Benton, one of the keys on offense, 21 carries, 186 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a big 80-yard touchdown run in overtime. Now, after gaining no more than 59 yards in any of those first 6 games, he has 274 in his last 2 games. Talk about his resurgence a little bit and Cordell Benton coming back and helping out this Rams offense.
Well, I think the key to it is the offense itself that we're trying to run. We're trying to run a team over in the wishbone offense that features the option and features the halfbacks in the offense. When the option is there, you've got the quarterbacks and fullbacks featured. And then in the other aspects of the offense, you've got your halfbacks. And Adrian has had 2 or 3 big ball games early in the year. Cordell didn't have quite as big a game since the first game, but he's blocked well. He's plugged along and gotten better. And all of a sudden, it opens up for him. So the last 2 weeks, he's had big ball games. So we feel like that it's just a matter of time that everybody will get the spotlight if they keep working and keep plugging. And certain nights, certain things are going to be there, and certain nights they'll be there for the other guy. But the key is everybody blocking for each other and everybody being ready when their time comes.
And Coach, how much wind does a win put like this? How much wind does it put in your sails for the last couple of weeks here against Brookmar and South Gwinnett?
I hope it'll put enough to make our kids realize if we continue to play hard and good things happen, we've still got a chance to have a winning season and still got a chance to get on the dance floor, as we call it, and in the playoffs. That's an outside shot, and we know that. We know where we are, but the main thing is to play all 10 football games the best of your ability. And if we keep doing that, maybe something good will happen to us again for us.
And the Rams will be taking on the Brookmar Patriots tonight. We'll be back to talk with Coach Cook about tonight's game right after this. You're listening to the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show on WGFS AM 1430. And we're back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Kevin Holden here with Jack Cook, the head football coach at Newton County High School. Rams have a 4-4 record, coach. They're headed to Berkmar High School to take on the Patriots. Berkmar 1-7 this year, using a run-and-shoot offense, something the Rams really haven't seen that much of this year. What adjustments will you be making, if any, to this run-and-shoot?
Well, of course, that's a pass-oriented offense, and we haven't played a truly pass-oriented offense this year. We've played the wing tee and the people that have run 2 or 3 people in the pass routes, but this ball club's going to run 4 and 5 receivers out on you every down, and then they're going to still run the option and run the trap and the veer inside the fullback, and it makes you have to play the whole field. And they're pretty good at what they do. They haven't won a lot of ball games, but they've scored a lot of points throughout the year. Nobody's really shut them down. I think they scored 1 touchdown in 2 games and at least 2 in all other games except one. So they've scored in the 20s like 4 times and still been defeated. So I'm just hoping that here again this week, I think we've got to keep the football on offense, score points, and keep you away from them. Because they're good enough to score if they've got fine, skilled receivers. They've got a quarterback that's a fine athlete. They've got a running back that's quicker and got good speed. And they're just a better football team offensively than they've been in several years. And defensively, they've struggled a little bit because they don't have a lot of size, but they're quick and they're strong. And so, and they're playing tier homecoming, so anything can happen. What we've got to do, we think, to win a football game is play aggressive, get after the quarterback on defense, go for the football, and then we've got to keep the football away from them.
And how much importance have you placed the fact that if the Rams win this game, they would be 5-4, and they're guaranteed of not having a losing season, but we could be talking about a winning season if they win the last couple of games. Do you place a lot of importance in those numbers?
Well, we do. We do as coaches, but our kids just, what we try to sell our kids on the fact that we dug a hole for ourselves in losing 2 regional games early, and this is just the next step. All the steps have got to be there for us to get where we want to get all of them. We've got to take one at a time. So really this next step is Berkmar. We've got to win this week before we even think about a next step, because there's no next step if we don't win. So that's the way we've approached it. It's just a building block thing. We've won 2, now we've got to win 3, then we'll worry about the next one when it gets here.
Another thing that may be working against the Rams here is the fact that they've been playing 10 games in a row without that off week. Their bye week will come after South Gwinnett the last week of the season. Do you think that playing 10 games in a row has had a positive or a negative effect on the team?
Well, I don't really know. I think you can be good or bad in an off week. If you've got people beat up and hurt and sick, an off week can help you. But if you're on a roll and you have an off week, and you lose your momentum sometimes. So I don't know whether we're better off or not, but I know we're beat up, and the injuries take the toll, and sickness and all that. But we've had kids that stepped forward and played with pain, and they've stepped forward and practiced with pain, and they've stepped forward and took up slack when another guy fell. And so we've had kids just rise to the occasion that needed to. So I don't know whether it helped us or not, but I know this: we just got to go out there and play the next 2. And hope we don't get anybody else hurt. And if we do that, we'll have had a pretty fortunate year along those lines.
This game is being played in Lilburn at the Berkmar High School Stadium now. Earlier on this year, the Rams were up there taking on the Meadow Creek Mustangs. 21-7 loss in that game. Do you think that's playing in the back of the Rams' minds as they go in tonight?
Well, I hope not, because it's 2 different teams that we're playing, and we played that game on a Saturday night and changed our whole, I'm not going to make excuses, but that's the one game that we really weren't emotionally ready to play. Every other game we've played hard. That game we just weren't in sync. And why, I don't know. We felt it going into the game that something was a little missing and something was off, but we weren't able to correct it in time to win the football game. So I hope it won't happen, because it's a totally different team, and we played on Friday night, and everything's been according to hard during the week. So I hope it won't make a big difference.
Well, Coach, once again, congratulations on last week's win over Clark Central in overtime, and best of luck tonight against the Patriots.
Thank you very much. If we're a little lucky, maybe we'll be good enough to do it. I hope we do.
Paul Daly and myself will be back in just a couple of minutes. We'll be having your Region Roundup, telling you about all the action in Region 8 Quad A. Stay tuned to the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show here on WGFS AM 1430.
Newton County versus South Gwinnett, Week 10, November 5th, 1993. Promo not available.
And we're back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show. Good Friday evening. Ram football action just a few minutes away. Stay tuned to us. Kevin Holden here with Jack Cook, the head football coach at Newton County High School. And Coach, last week a 13-7 loss to the Berkmar Patriots. Very ugly night past Friday in terms of weather. Bad rainstorm in the area throughout the night. How much of a role do you think the rain played in the loss?
Well, you know, we could make excuses and say it played a big role, but I think it was just as bad, the weather was for them as it was for us. It caused some good things to happen for us in breaks. We had 5 turnovers that we received from them. We turned it over twice, but it really wasn't good for our offense at all. We felt like the one advantage we did have on Berkmar was we had a little more speed, and that didn't, of course, when it gets sloppy, it takes all that away. But really, they just played well, and we didn't execute very well, and nothing else you can say except we just got outplayed and was beaten. I think the weather didn't help anybody, but you got to play whatever conditions you got, and seems like when things go bad, they go real bad, and that's what happened to us. You can't control the bounce of the ball, you can't control the officiating, you can't control the weather. So you got to be ready to play every week, and in my opinion, we weren't ready to play as much as we should, and that's my responsibility. And it's a devastating loss because it would have us this week playing for possible playoff berth, and now we're just playing for pride and to try to end up even, which that ought to be enough, but it's disheartening to lose a football game of that magnitude in the manner that we lost it.
Coach, Berkmar is known primarily as a passing team, but one of their big performers was Dustin Pearson. He had 114 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, something you don't normally see from Berkmar. Your thoughts about Pearson's performance?
Well, I think he's an outstanding back, has been all year. He's hurt other people too, but he just had his best night against us, and they did a good job preparing their game plan, and they got us early. We had bad field position. They drove one down, and we got bad field position, and they did their damage early, and then pretty much at the end of the game and in between, we did everything it took except just get one more score in and kick the extra point.
And Patrick Gaither showed some bright spots for the Rams there, had a touchdown rushing in this past game. Your thoughts about Patrick Gaither?
Well, we think Patrick's going to be a fine football player. We're going to have to work with Patrick on his grades. He's got to really study, but he's a 10th grader, and he's a big, strong youngster, and he's going to be a good football player for us.
And the defense did not allow a touchdown from the end of that first quarter on. The defense has had some very excellent games this year. Do you feel like they've gone unnoticed?
Well, I don't think they've gone unnoticed to us. We know we've played, I think, exception of about 3 games, we've played outstanding defense. We've fallen down at times in 3 or 4 games, but overall we've played very hard on defense and played well. We've had just little spurts there, just like Friday night, that first drive where we didn't tackle well and didn't play well, and then the rest of the game you play hard and do a good job. But overall, our defense has played well all year long. We're still a young team on defense, and we're a small defensive football team. I think they've played, overall, I think they've played well all year long.
And the Rams will take their defense tonight against the South Gwinnett Comets coming up in just a couple of minutes. We'll be back with Coach Cook to talk about tonight's game right after this. And we're back on the Newton County Ram Tailgate Show on your Friday evening. Kevin Holden here with Newton County head football coach Jack Cook. And Coach, tonight against the South Gwinnett Comets here at Homer Sharp Stadium. Last game for the senior class, playing in front of the home fans. Of course, this senior class won their homecoming earlier this year, so they've had some bright spots at home. Talk a little bit about the seniors and their leadership for this football team this year.
Well, we're graduating 10 seniors, and of course we're thankful for those guys, and we had a few more and lost them to one reason or another, but these 10 have stayed with us and worked hard. 3 of them are first-year seniors that have never played before, and we feel very good about their presence and coming out and helping the football team. And we've got 5 seniors that have really been mainstays for 2 and 3 years in the program, and we're very proud of them, and we feel like that they've had a lot to do with getting our program back on track and building it up to where these young guys hopefully can take us to the next level.
And South Gwinnett comes in 6-2. Of course, they're vying for a playoff spot in 8 Quad A South, and it's thanks mostly to an excellent running game. They've got 2 big running backs in Carmichael and Wolfel. Is there anything that a defense can do, especially to try to prepare to stop the run?
Well, they make you match up one-on-one all the way across. They run the misdirection wing tee and do an outstanding job executing it. And, of course, one thing that makes that job outstanding, they have 2 fine running backs, not 1 but 2, that they run in opposite directions, and you've got to play the whole field, and you've got to tackle everybody, and then they can throw the ball well. They got a big 89, big tight end receiver, and plus Wolford can he catch football well, and they use a variety of patterns and bootleg passes and play action passes, and they're just an outstanding offensive football team. They went 7-3 last year, and these guys had over 2,000 yards. Both of them started as 10th graders, and they had almost 2,000 that year, I think, and they had a good team when they were 10th graders. But this is their senior year, and they're really playing well. I think they're probably the best offensive football team we've played against.
Do you remind your team of any of last year's circumstances taking on South Gwinnett? The Rams came in sort of in the same circumstances, 2-3 in sub-region play, upset the Comets up there in Snellville.
Well, we're basically back in the same spot we were last year. We didn't want to be in this spot. We wanted to be 3-2 and be playing for a playoff spot ourselves. But since we're not, find ourselves in the same boat. And what you've got to play for here is just to try to win that 5th ball game and go out with a break-even record and try to beat a rival and a team that is a good playoff football team. And we don't think that it's that much similar to last year other than just the circumstances. They're a lot better football team this year than they were last year. We feel like we're a better football team in some ways. We're not capable of coming from behind probably 3 or 4 touchdowns like we were last year because we're not a good passing team, but we are a good running team on occasion when we decide to block and execute. And we feel like we've got a chance to win the football game, but we've got to do it in a different way. We can't get 4 touchdowns behind. We've got to control the football and keep it away from their great offense and try to wear them down in that manner if we're going to have a chance.
And Coach, being that this is the last game of the year, I thought I might get a chance to talk to you a little bit about football as a character builder. Of course, the folks who come through the Newton County program, you're looking to build them as strong football players, but also as strong men as they go out and go into life after high school.
Well, we feel, and I've heard Coach Sanderson at Clark talk in this vein on his TV shows, and at times I think our philosophy is very similar to his. We feel like football is a great teacher. It's a little slice of life that teaches maybe the old-time values or maybe the values that we feel like this country is built on, and things like teamwork and sacrifice and hard work and discipline and all these intangibles that very little parts of our society seem to have anymore. Maybe we're kind of a dinosaur in the game of football, but we believe in what it teaches. If you play the game where it ought to be played, you've got to have courage, you've got to have discipline, you've got to really sacrifice of yourself, and all those things I think are important in young people's lives. And if they learn to do them in high school athletics and more especially football, then maybe they'll be able to draw from that one day when they get out there and have a job and have a family, and they don't feel well and they don't want to go to work, or they don't want to do something with their kids, or something. They won't be selfish. Maybe they won't be. Maybe they'll say, hey, I'm part of the big picture, and I need to do my part, and I need to get up and suck my guts up and go and do what I'm supposed to do. And we really hope that the youngsters in our program gain some of these values and expose their good character traits and build on them, and not use it as just something to come out there and win a ball game and then forget it. We want it to be something that they can draw from, and we want them to have good memories that they can come back and talk to each other about when they visit school, and talk to each other 10 years down the road or 20. And hopefully they'll be able to do that, or win tonight and help along those lines a whole lot.
And Coach, being that this is the last time that we'll be talking on the Ram Tailgate Show, is there anyone else you want to congratulate or thank for helping out in Rams football this year?
Well, we want to thank everybody that's had anything to do with it, and I sincerely hope that we feel like we've come a ways in our program. We're a lot more solid football team, even though we haven't won the games that we feel like we needed to and wanted to. We feel like we're a sounder football team. We've played everybody tough and had a chance to win every game. And I hope that doesn't change tonight. And we hope that the people of the community and our student body and our parents and our kids that are capable of playing football will realize what we're trying to do and support the Newton County High School program, not just football, but the whole athletic program. And it'll be about 2 or 3 more years we'll have 2 schools. And if we don't support one school, it's going to be hard to support 2. So we need to get some people in the habit of supporting the whole program and every sport. We got wrestling and boys and girls basketball coming up, and then baseball and track and tennis and golf in the spring. And I hope that people will support Newton County athletics in general and specifically, hopefully, this ball game and then next year get excited about the Rams and come out and support these kids. We're working hard to try to build a program that people can be proud of, and it's taking some time, and hope people will have patience. But in order for us to get over the top, we've got to have that true support from everybody, and I hope they'll come out and do that.
Well, Coach, thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule the last 10 weeks to be with us on the Tailgate Show. And, of course, best of luck tonight against South Gwinnett.
Kevin, we appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all the people that sponsored this show and the game itself and our coaches' breakfast and all the folks that help us at the stadium, as you mentioned a while ago, people that do the announcing and the chain crew and the folks that carry equipment for us and Mac Hayes, who goes with us, and security and all those unsung folks that people don't know about. We appreciate them, and we appreciate y'all doing the games and doing these shows. It means a lot to our kids, it means a lot to our program, and we humbly appreciate the station and all the people that sponsor.
That's Newton County High School's head football coach, Jack Cook, and we'll be back to talk about your playoff picture in A Quad A with the Region Roundup coming up right after this.